In the movie Hotel Rwanda, he alleges that he saved, over 2,000 people. He says with his own words, like, I saved, and his daughter pushes the same narrative to over 2,000 people. Well, it turns out, he says, I saved these people. And so these declassified documents came out from the National Archives in which a general from the UNMAR, UN peacekeepers, people are frustrated about this film. All around the world, they're like, these events are false. He did not save anyone at the Hotel Mille Collines. It was the UN peacekeepers and Congolese Brazzaville that were helping everyone and taking fire, and even one of the Congolese Brazzaville peacekeepers was blown up right in front of the hotel, and this man's taking all the credit. And so this general was so he's upset about this, and he tells, this is a quote from these declassified top secret documents were released by the US National Archives in 2014 regarding the Rwandan conflict, the genocide against the Tutsi. And this is an interview with the director of the National Security Archives, Tom Blanton, and Lieutenant General Romeo Dallaire. He says, quote, I would like you to acknowledge the role played by those UNAMIR troops who stayed in Rwanda, including the troops from Congo-Brazzaville, who were the ones who saved the people at the Hotel Mille Collines, not the hotel manager, Paul Rusesabagina.
What's up, guys? If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Also, please smash that like button on the video and enjoy the show.
Like, how do you do that? Like, how do you say something like that and expect me not to, like, expose you?
Listen,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
listen, people tend to say some things to you, dude, it appears. But yeah. I got to tell you, John, you are the most prepared guest we've ever had. I've said that now a few times. I think you take the cake, though. Can you hand me that fat stack over there right now? And you're a computer guy. You're bringing me printed shit. I love it.
Oh, yeah. I figured, just old school.
Fat stack of white papers here that we're going to be talking about a lot of these today.
Absolutely.
You and I have also been sitting here for a couple hours going through different files on your computer, verifying some things, some stuff that is under seal that literally can't be shown on camera, obviously. So people are going to have to go with that. But I have checked into some stuff that's going to come up today. But, dude, you're an interesting guy, to say the least. You are in the middle of a lot of different things here. Obviously, there's something going off right now, even. Let
me shut that off. Let's not get,
But you call yourself a gray hat hacker. What does that mean?
Sure, yeah. There's a distinction that in the hacker community that you're either a white hat or a black hat. With white means, you're on the good side. Black, you're on the illegal side. But there's this middle ground that's people don't generally talk about, which is, the slippery slope, right? So one of the things that I can say about the gray hat side is that developing exploits for devices, and I say developing exploits, like you can sell a way to break into a phone legally, right? But on a platform called Zerodium, for example.
Yes.
Right? So Zerodium's been around for a long time, and they'll pay you $500,000 if you can develop a 0-day exploit for an iPhone, right, or an Android. This is the area that I play in, right? So developing exploits for different companies.
Guys, if you're still watching this video and you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please take 2 seconds and go hit it right now. Thank you.
All these places are saying, oh, we've misidentified these as malicious. It's not really malicious. But at the same time, there's so many that it was submitted to, you can't get back to stasis.
What was the other thing, too? You and I were talking about this before camera. I want to cover this, and I want to get to Pegasus.
Yeah.
I think we're there.
We are, yeah.
What was the thing that people were giving you shit about online for being removed from a case?
Yes. So
what happened there?
This past year, I was scheduled to be an expert witness in the largest Bitcoin mixing case in the U.S. Mixing, right? So taking Bitcoin and anonymizing the Bitcoin by putting it through different wallets, and it's called Bitcoin fog. And because this again, I got certified in blockchain forensics analysis, and I was working for a crypto company. I started writing blockchain code. I started really understanding how a lot of these systems were working, and I joined this case as a forensic analyst. And when I went to DC it was my time to give testimony, I didn't I didn't have a chance to give the testimony because the person that went before me took a little too long. But while I was in DC, there was issues with someone stalking me and posting pictures. While I was in DC, yes, it's real. And while I was coming back from the courthouse, someone posted a picture of me with my team and said, "Look who I found." And then they were actually sitting in the courtroom. And this, it's a real deal. And
where'd they post this?
On Twitter, on their Twitter page.
Do we have that tweet?
I can, yeah, we can.
Yeah, keep
yeah,
going.
yeah, we
Don't
can.
worry about it.
But yeah, so, and strangely, the person that posted this and their cohorts were saying, "Well, stalking is kind of a a slippery slope word or something of that." It's like they're saying the stalking is kind of, then
it's more like following closely.
Yeah, right. So, but either way, so that was, I can say it's probably as an intimidation factor. Like, hey, we know that you're being a part of this case. Well, what happens actually in criminal cases, if you're going to be testifying, is you have a lot of potential expert witnesses, and it's not until the judge decides, hey, you're qualified, or you're going to be, you're able to, testify, and there's arguments on both sides why the prosecution's experts are not experts and why the defense's experts are not experts. It's just normal. But the cybersecurity, more InfoSec community started spreading propaganda that I was not qualified, and they were putting misinformation out, that saying that the prosecution said that I was unqualified due to XYZ, which was not the fact. In fact, in the final document that says I was withdrawn from this case, and it was said I was withdrawn, and for the reason that it was sealed. The reason I was,
I'm going to editorialize right now too, for people listening. Obviously, you can't share why that is or what that is, but I have reviewed that evidence, and that is exactly what happened. I'll leave it there. So
yeah, and that's the So there's always this. There's always going to be someone try to discredit, but there's a really big. This is where we start getting into. Now we get into the Pegasus, because it's like, well, he's been removed from this. He's been removed from this, so he's not credible for this, and it's just all these kind of nitpicky things. It's just like, well, it's not the case. It's not the truth. So we jump into Pegasus, right?
And let's define. We started talking about that at the beginning just a little bit, but let's define it, because this is the most. I remember I did a podcast number 70. I guess I was number 71 with Nick Castellucci. 72 with Nick Castellucci. Check that number, actually, Alessi. I'm blanking out right now. 70 was Luisa. 72 was Nick Castellucci. And he was a hacker. He was actually caught up in the Xbox FIFA scandal, if you remember that from years ago, which was another whole crazy case. But we talked a lot in the third hour about Pegasus and NSO, and that I had looked at it before and I knew it was some crazy shit, but I was talking with him off camera after that as well. It blew my mind how powerful this is and how controversial it is too, because of where it emanates from and what kinds of geopolitical implications that has. But for people who want to understand even just NSO, which is the company that built it. What do you know about them? Yeah, so NSO Group has been around for a while, right? Let's just, even Pegasus can be traced back to like at least 2015, earliest. And it's one of the most, let's just say, one of the most, I would say, in my opinion, one of the most dangerous pieces of surveillance
software out there. But with that said, the reason that these surveillance tools are developed are for a specific purpose, right? And can they be misused? Absolutely. But why would we have surveillance tools? And there's, NSO Group's not the only one. You have Intellexa, which is another surveillance company, and you also have American Paragon. Is an American surveillance. You have Chinese iFlyTech. You have the list can go on, right? Of these surveillance tools, and they're meant for governments to monitor, criminals or suspects. And I know it's meant for that. And this is where we get into that slippery slope area.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and probably change.
Oh, change your battery out? Yeah, go ahead. Okay, all right, We'll be right back. All right, we're back. We got this powered up now?
Yeah,
it's good to go?
We're good.
All right, let's do it.
So, yeah, there's a lot of different surveillance technology companies around the world. And again, Pegasus is an Israeli-based company, and
totally no controversy around
no
that whatsoever.
Controversy. There's always controversy. Yeah, but now that we're getting to the Pegasus part, there is a pre-context that is very important as to, well, why did I get involved with these Pegasus cases? Why did, where did this come from? So after the my bug bounty stuff and all this, these other things, and while I was teaching these mobile forensics courses, I was approached by a man named Mohammed Al-Maskati.
Sounds like a real straight shooter,
right? And he was the director of a human rights group called the Frontline Defenders.
That's not where I was going with that. So
yeah,
all right. Keep going.
Well, it does get a little sketchy.
Okay,
really does. So you're not too far. Nice guy, but so he messaged me and he said, "Hey, would you mind teaching some of these human rights defenders some mobile forensics?" And he said specifically in these human rights defenders in Middle East, North Africa. I said, "Well, absolutely. Yeah, no problem. Let me know.
Bet.
Let's go." So I did. And at the time, I'm over here like, yeah, that's, I'm reading all this research about the Pegasus, and Amnesty International is one of the organizations that researches a lot into Pegasus, and Amnesty International and the Citizen Lab are the main organizations. One is an NGO. Amnesty International is a non-governmental organization, and then the Citizen Lab is a public policy institute out of Canada, and which gets really strange. Like, why are they involved in this? It gets there's a
All
whole.
right, I'll hold off on my questions there.
So they're the biggest ones that they confirm Pegasus spyware cases around the world. So they travel around the world, sometimes.
How do you confirm? Let's start with that, actually.
Yeah.
That's an important question. How do you confirm? I hand you my phone. I'll say, okay, Jonathan, I have Pegasus on this phone. I'm certain of it.
Sure.
I give it to you.
Right.
What do you do?
So if what I would do was, first I would quarantine this device, right? And I would make sure that we're in call it a clean room with a Faraday cage, and make sure that there's no outside, cellular connections. But before that, if you suspected this, well, we would definitely want to report this. We would want to report this to the authorities, and because if you believe that you're being surveilled, you're just a normal citizen.
Is my phone surveilled if it's off?
I've seen someone say that they were able to pull information maybe back in the day, but right now there was persistence. When I say persistence, meaning if your phone is off, there was a time when these surveillance technologies could persist. Maybe there still is technologies. So when you reboot it, it's still on there. From research that's honestly just not even credible, the answer is unclear. Let's just say that.
Okay.
It's unclear because these organizations are super secretive, and then actually capturing the malware, actually capturing the spyware, it's one of the most challenging things that you can do. But there are methods in which you can.
Yeah, you said you put it in a Faraday cage. You
put it in
in
cage.
A clean room. You call it.
Call it a clean room. Let's remove it from any other devices around it. And then we actually have the physical device in our hands.
Are there any computers in this room?
Yeah, anything? So we have a computer that's
okay, so
removed from the internet, right?
Okay.
And then we start to clone, or we attempt to clone your device because we don't want to compromise the device.
How does that work?
All right, so this is where it gets a little challenging in the sense that if you have an iPhone, cloning your iPhone is going to be tough without jailbreaking it, but there are other methods that are able to extract a lot of data, but Androids are going to be a lot easier to clone, and we don't want the purpose of cloning your device is that we don't want to have any artifacts, or we don't want to have any data that can come back and say, oh, well, this was what affected the device. That's you didn't follow a process. You didn't follow, it's called chain of custody, right? So the chain of custody of the device is everything is logged. So when you're doing a mobile forensics, imagine like this is a criminal case. If you're being surveilled, this is an illicit activity because you're just a normal guy. You're not doing anything wrong. The chain of custody is we reported it. We have a court order. We have the specialist that's we have the team. We have the quarantine. We have there's a whole process to follow. And if you break that chain of custody, you may not even be able to admit this device as evidence of a crime. That's how important a chain of custody is. It's just like with DNA evidence. If their chain of custody is broken, right, then you can't submit this if you don't even have a proper documentation of what happened. This is so along these lines. This is where the mobile forensics comes in and understanding the process and what to do if you feel like you're being surveilled. And so these companies, or not companies, these organizations like an Amnesty International or Citizen Lab are bypassing this entire chain of custody completely. So back when I was teaching these mobile forensics to this human rights defenders, I know Amnesty International had released a tool called the MVT tool, which is the mobile device verification tool. Yeah, you can pull that up. It's MVT. And I noticed that this tool was very, very flawed. So I started developing my own tool to detect Pegasus because at the time I was like, I loved the research that Amnesty was putting out. I loved the research that Citizen Lab, and I was promoting their research without just blind. Anything Mohammed would send me, he would leave me signal messages. Hey, I'm in Palestine, and we found these human rights defenders that are targeted with Pegasus, and he would
and you were just,
and I'm like, yeah. Let me retweet that. Yeah, you're right. They are, and I'm just like, wait. And then
started to get sketchy
because when I saw the tool that they were using to identify the Pegasus infections, I was like, wait a second, this isn't a forensics tool. This is like, what is this?
What were they using?
So one of the things with this MVT tool is the way that they're able to identify a Pegasus infection is by what's called string matching. So imagine they're looking at a text dictionary, and this so if your phone says the word sweater on it and their dictionary says sweater, you're infected. Oh, it sounds crazy like
that simple.
That simple. And I'm going to show you, and I did an experiment, and I'll have you pull it up. No, it's not even a joke.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Not even joking, like at all. And I'm going to show you.
I'm wondering if I'm like picturing that wrong because that.
No, you're not. You're not at all. It's string matching, like sweater, infected. YouTube, infected.
Yeah, but that's not. So you're using an example like a.
And I'll show you a reel.
Okay,
I'll show you a reel. Yeah, I'll show you a reel. So I'm gonna send you my GitHub. So I did an experiment, and I asked people to a blind experiment. I asked for participants, and
when did you decide?
So this was in 2000. This was in 2022 when the Catalan Gate came out, which is Catalan Gate is this scandal, that the largest spyware scandal in the world, stating that 65 people from Spain have been targeted or infected with spyware. And this was, yeah. So let me get you this test. And so when you open this up, this is my GitHub repository, and in which I conducted experiments, blind experiments with, I asked for volunteers. Hey, I'm running this experiment to see if I can infect you with Pegasus. Well, obviously I don't have the Pegasus software. I don't have it. But by reading the software that this Amnesty International was releasing, it was clear that I could fake my infections, and it was evidence.
And it would come up.
So if you scroll down, and let's go down to, scroll down more, and you'll see, right there. So you can see right here that this domain, 123tramites.com. Now, this is where we go back into all right, so Amnesty and Citizen Lab says, we found this website, 123tramites.com, to be malicious. Well, okay.
And how'd you do that?
Yeah, how'd you do that? And they don't say. And so I said, wow, their code basically says if my phone finds 123tramites and I run it through their program, it's going to come back as infected. So if you scroll down, I scroll down, it says setting up the experiment, right? So I set up the experiment.
Okay, for this experiment, we're going to be focusing, I'm reading now, we're going to be focusing on iOS, just as Citizen Lab did according to their Catalan Gate report. 1, I found that that running the experiment via Docker image was easiest and did not produce any errors when installing the MVT tool. I used an excellent repo from Defensive Lab Agency to help with the setup. 2, open your Safari browser and go to the URL https.
Okay, stop there.
Okay.
All right. So number 2. So what I'm saying is take your phone, your iPhone, and in your Safari browser, go to the website 123tramites.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay. You can go ahead.
Okay. You will get a blank page, but that is okay. Do not close the browser tab. It's okay if you switch apps. 3, make sure you have WhatsApp installed on your mobile device and ensure you have at least one contact on WhatsApp you can message. 4, and we got to talk about WhatsApp too.
Yeah.
That's
wild.
Like
this is wild.
Right?
Yeah.
4,
wild.
Send the following URLs to someone in your WhatsApp contact list. The URLs being sent via WhatsApp can be found here. So then you list them all out. And then steps 5 to 7 instructions are in the step 1 link. 5, take an encrypted backup of your mobile phone. 6, once your backup is completed, decrypt the backup. 7, if you follow the instructions in step 1, you should have a folder named IOC. Do the following, and it says like a code. And then 8, next you will run the forensics tool and notice that you have positive results.
False positive. Sorry, it should say false positive. Well, positive for Pegasus.
Correct, correct. Positive. So, you said it right.
Yeah. So if you,
and then you have the next section called Safari
positive.
So basically, there's workarounds where if you type in sites that they already have listed on theirs that could have that. That if you just typed it in. So, but that's such a weird site. Like, I've never heard of 123tramites.com.
Well, I bought it.
You bought it?
I bought it.
What do you mean you bought it?
I actually bought the domain.
But was that actually like a Pegasus host?
Who knows?
And you're on it now?
Well, but I own it. Do you see what I'm saying? Because, and this is what's weird. Now, let's talk about it because if you run the tool and you go to my website, because I own 123tramites.com.
After doing this experiment,
and you go there, you're still it's gonna come back with, yep, you're infected with Pegasus. Wait, what?
It says you're infected with it.
It literally says it right there. it says matching indicators from Pegasus. Warning, warning, warning.
Now, are there any normal name sites like EAPN.com or something if someone types in ESPN wrong that are saying this? You're infected with Pegasus, you know what I mean?
Well, so they have a whole list. When I say it's a text list, it's like hundreds. It used to be hundreds of thousands that they whittled down to thousands. And I say they, Amnesty, Citizen Lab, they whittled this down to thousands of bad domains. Wait, what?
On what basis?
In what basis exactly? So this is the exact same question that myself and 120 professors from around the world have been asking Amnesty and the Citizen Lab. What is your methodology to claim that these indicators of compromise, these websites are malicious? Because this isn't computer science. You prove nothing. You have a text list, and if that text list matches, you're infected. So I did more experiments, and what I found. So out of the nine people that I had do this blind experiment, it was like 89% were able to infect themselves. One person wasn't even able to complete the experiment because they didn't have enough memory on their phone to complete a backup. So going to the website manually on Safari and then sending that domain in a WhatsApp message came back as positive for infection.
And this is what they're using.
But here's the thing. When this tool first came out in 2021, there's a TechCrunch reporter, Whitaker is his name. In the same day that this tool came out, he wrote, MVT tool came out, and we've already detected false positives. He wrote this. Zach Whitaker is his name. And if you can find the article, it's out there.
Zach Whitaker, false positives, Pegasus.
Exactly. And it was the same day. And so an engineer that originally wrote this tool had already written a tool prior called Detect, or DETKT, or something along those. Do you find
the second one? Oh, go back.
So
false positive exoplanet induced by stellar.
No,
that's different.
Go to type MV. So Zach Whitaker MVT tool MVT false positive. False positives. Yeah.
First one. This tool to 2021.
Yes,
right,
exactly.
Let's click that. This tool tells you if NSO's Pegasus spyware targeted your phone. All right, scroll down. Over the weekend, an international consortium of news outlets reported that several authoritarian governments, including Mexico, Morocco, and the United Arab Emirates, used spyware developed by NSO Group to hack into the phones of thousands of their most vocal critics, including journalists, activists, politicians, and business executives. A leaked list of 50,000 phone numbers of potential surveillance targets was obtained by Paris-based journalism nonprofit Forbidden Stories and Amnesty International and shared with the reporting consortium, including the Washington Post and the Guardian. Researchers analyzed the phones of dozens of victims to confirm that they were targeted by the NSO's Pegasus spyware, which can access all of your data on a person's phone. The reports also confirm new details of the government customers themselves, which NSO Group closely guards. Hungary, a member of the European Union, where privacy from surveillance is supposed to be a fundamental right for its 500 million residents, is named as an NSO customer. The reporting shows for the first time how many individuals are likely targets of NSO's intrusive device-level surveillance. Previous reporting had put the number of known victims in the hundreds or more than 1,000. NSO Group sharply rejected the claims. NSO has long said that it doesn't know who its customers target, which it reiterated in a statement to TechCrunch on Monday. Researchers at Amnesty, whose work was reviewed by the Citizen Lab at the University of Toronto, found that NSO can deliver Pegasus by sending a victim a link in which, when open, infects the phone, or silently and without any interaction at all through a zero-click exploit, which takes advantage of vulnerabilities in the iPhone software, like a 0-day, I guess.
Sure, yeah.
Citizen Lab researcher Bill Marzak said in a tweet that NSO's Zero Clicks worked on iOS 14.6, which until today was the most up-to-date version. Amnesty's researchers showed their work by publishing meticulously detailed technical notes and a toolkit that they said may help others identify if their phones have been targeted by Pegasus. This might not be the article.
I think, yeah.
This is before he comes up with the false positive thing, right?
It says, so it actually talks about the traces, right?
Right here?
Yeah.
So read this. The Mobile Verification Toolkit, or MVT, works on both iPhones and Android devices, but slightly differently. Amnesty said that more forensic traces were found on iPhones than Android devices, which makes it easier to detect on iPhones. MVT will let you take an entire iPhone backup or a full system dump if you jailbreak your phone, and feed in for any indicators of compromise, IOCs, known to be used by NSO to deliver Pegasus, such as domain names used in NSO's infrastructure that might be sent by text message or email. If you have an encrypted iPhone backup, you can also use MVT to decrypt your backup without having to make a whole new copy. All right, scroll down.
Scroll down.
The toolkit works on the command line, so it's not a refined and polished user experience and requires some basic knowledge of how to navigate the terminal. We got it working in about 10 minutes, plus the time to create a fresh backup of an iPhone, which you will want to do if you want to check up to the hour. To get the toolkit ready to scan your phone for signs of Pegasus, you'll need to feed in Amnesty's IOCs, which it has on its GitHub page. Anytime the indicators of compromise file updates.
Okay, so this is the important part.
Okay. Right here. Keep reading.
So I'll stop you right here.
Yeah.
So when it says you'll need to feed in Amnesty's IOCs, these are these indicators of this is the list. You need to feed in a list of domains, a list of process, like a text list, in order to see if these text list matches what's on your phone. If you go scroll back up, just because the biggest scroll up into the image, that right there. You see where it says warning? Right? It says found a known malicious file at path. See that it says software update services d.plist?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that is a false positive. So if we go to,
how do you know that?
If you go to Zach Whitaker's Twitter and actually type in MVT tool, actually I'll pull it up for you. He says false positive, but this is in this warning. And actually in Amnesty's code repository, they said this is a false positive. They label it as a false positive. Yeah, and so, and I'll bring this up for you. I'll bring the Amnesty GitHub up. And I think it's going to be fair to mention too, while I bring this up, I stepped back before I came on this podcast, and I set my ego aside, and I asked someone that's very critical of my work to fact check what some talking points that I'm actually speaking about, and this is one of the talking points that he actually fact checked, and I'll show you the communications with him, because
meaning he disagreed with what?
No, he agreed that what I'm
agreed.
Yeah, and I'll show you these communications because I definitely put a lot, and this is someone that's very respected, but all in cyber, in tech community. But yes, so let me bring up this software update services D. If we need to pause while I find it.
All right, we'll pause for 1 sec. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. We were just going through the Wayback Machine trying to find this tweet because his tweets are now protected and none of us follow him. And you were freaking out because you have literally every single piece of data bookmarked in your life. But you're forgiven for this. It's no problem.
Yeah.
Basically, he sent out a tweet on or around the same day, July 19th, 2021, when the story came out, which described what? And we're going to take your word for it.
Sure. Well, you don't have to take my word for it, because what in the article that he wrote, if we can go back to the TechCrunch article for just a second, what you're seeing right here is the output of the MVT tool, which is the tool that is used to identify Pegasus that we were talking about. If you can see right here, it says warning, right? It says warning on it, and then it says, com.apple. If you can click off of it. Yeah, so it says warning com.apple.software update services d.plist. So this warning, it says it found a known suspicious file, found a known malicious file path, at this location. So if we go back to the tweet here, the author of the software, one of the main authors of this software, acknowledges that this piece of this indicator of compromise, or this malicious, property list, is a false positive.
Right.
So you don't have to take my word for it, because it's right in front of you. It says what Zach experienced when he posted that screenshot is a false positive. He shouldn't have got it. And so this was posted in a GitHub repository. So it begs the question:
why are they doing this?
Right. And
Amnesty International, these other organizations, why are they so lined up against?
And what
NSO?
What methodology are you using to determine if this device is infected? And this is a common issue with them. They acknowledge. So we go back to so we're in 2021 at this point when this tool came out. In 2021 came this report. It's called the Forensics Methodology to Detect Pegasus, and it was released by Amnesty International and peer-reviewed, verified by Citizen Lab.
Now, can you even call that a peer review?
Exactly, you can't. And this is where it gets very tricky. If we go into we go into the highlights of my my page. So if you go into the Twitter and you go into the highlights, and highlights, a couple of things. So scroll down, please, and we're gonna find scroll down, and it's gonna say uncovering the Citizen Lab, which is the first report which caused the most controversy. Let's keep scrolling down and scrolling down. Almost there. There. Right. So click into
Do you have this over here?
Yeah.
Can you hand this to me? One of these thick ass white papers.
Yeah, this one.
I have questions on this stuff, but I don't want to get you off track.
Yeah, so, this one's 60 pages, but so if you click out of it and then you actually go into the thread, right? You're gonna so scroll down. So we're gonna start to see a couple of things, right? So this was not just I was very interested to see I wanted to understand the background of the Citizen Lab, more of a background, and I found things that were very controversial and not mentioned at the time. So as you can see here, if you can blow up that image, it says one of the quotes that I found, and the source is on the it'll be on a next tweet, but it's from the Toronto Star. It says the Citizen Lab. This is the reporter reporting on the Citizen Lab. It says Citizen Lab uses techniques of spies to secretly deploy software it developed that automatically checks for censored websites inside various countries. Sometimes the lab performs tests remotely, taking control of unprotected computers inside the censoring country without permission. This poses an ethical controversy, but Ron Diebert, the director of the Citizen Lab, says it's for the greater good. We don't worry about that too much.
Okay, so this is one of the slippery slope things. They are trying to help, so to speak, in countries where things are censored, but they are breaking international laws to do it.
Absolutely. So let's go back one, and it gets even more deliberate. So let's scroll down to not that one, the next one. Sorry, go down. Sorry.
Down?
Yeah, down. Right. Down one or down more. Down more. Sorry. Right there. Yes. Okay. Now, let's see. No, go down. So, okay. Well, this is actually good, but let's click out of that, and now let's go back. Oh wait, right here. Okay. So this is the Toronto. So this is again the quote from the Toronto Star. The lab even has black boxes, mini-sized computers that can be planted discreetly inside these countries to run the tests. This kind of research is illegal in almost every country we do it in.
Okay.
He specifically
says that himself. It's damning.
And I'm thinking,
the fact that they're a private organization is what makes this concerning. Because I can tell you, like,
They're part of a university.
But rooting for like Team USA, which is not necessarily what this is at all.
Sure.
You know, like if I found out the NSA was doing this to Iran, sign me up, baby. Let's fucking go.
Sure.
Right? But this is like a private organization in the name of human rights.
Right.
It's a little murky.
No, this is what's happening. Like this is like,
how does this affect Pegasus?
Right. So this all falls in line because what's the motive, right? What you're already doing illegal things. First off, you're admitting to doing illegal things. You're putting out software and making claims without any evidence to support your claims. You're accusing countries of doing the exact same thing that you're doing to them. Like what's actually happening? How can we believe what you are saying when you admit that you're illicitly deploying software and breaking international laws and people are just brushing it off?
Because you're the same as them, so to speak, if that's the
argument. And so now we start to get more into it. So the Catalan Gate, which is the document that you have in front of you, is
this available online, right?
It's available online. It's on ResearchGate. Anyone can download it. And there's a lot into this. If we go back up into another one of the highlighted sections that you were on before,
right there,
right here,
certainly disciplinary. Okay.
This is a quote from a PhD computer scientist from Turkey who wrote a white paper against the Citizen Lab saying, you don't have any scientific methodology to accuse us of Turkey of espionage. You're not providing anything that we can validate, falsify, corroborate. We can't test anything. You've accused us of espionage with no grounds. And he says specifically that you can't accept this as disciplinary research under any circumstances, is what he's specifically saying about Citizen Labs research. He's a PhD computer scientist, and this is not the only one, right? There's in 2021, a French computer scientist, PhD computer scientist, Nadim Kobesi, and we can find him if you even just go to my Twitter and you type in Nadim. Then you'll actually see screenshots, and it's still available. He calls out the Citizen Lab and Amnesty International, saying, "This isn't sound science. You guys have it's all conjecture." So yeah, if you search Nadim, you'll find So do in the search bar, type @JonathanData1, and then search within that. Again,
yeah, you should be able to search within that right now because you're on the page.
And then type Nadim, Nadim, Nadim. Yeah, and push enter. And I cite him. I cite him in my blog
Type in
posts.
Jonathan's name too.
Or actually go to the NSO through the veil at the top tab next to the Twitter. The tab. The next tab over that you have. So you have no, I'm sorry.
Latest.
At the very top tab. No. Up. Yeah, up further. Yeah, up to where past the bar, past the URL bar.
Okay. Up here?
Yes, go to the tab. You can close that one out and see the
NSO through the veil.
Yeah, see the NSO through the veil. Yeah.
Yeah, people, I'm sorry if there's like a lot of directing around here, but there are a fuck ton of links, so you're going to have to understand at home. This is a lot of intricate details.
Close that. On the far right, there's an X that you can close that side out. Yeah, we don't need that anymore. And then just Command F and type
Zach.
Nadim. I think, he's not in that one.
Okay, who was this guy again?
So he's a PhD computer scientist from France, and I will bring it up when my computer gets back charged to see if it's got something.
And keep that over here because that's like
sure.
Yeah.
Then what he refutes what Amnesty International and Citizen Lab have released, And this is really important because now we have...
On what basis does he refute it?
There is no scientific way to... they're not using a scientific methodology when they're presenting their what they call evidence.
That Pegasus is infecting all this stuff.
Exactly.
Right.
And so my computer's up, so let me look for this real quick. And it's dead again. Oh, come on.
Yeah, not having the charger, bro.
I know.
Rookie mistake.
I know, rookie mistake.
Because you have a different type of, by the way, here's a different type of charger than we do. Otherwise, we give you ours.
So, actually, go into my Medium article. See my picture down? See my picture? Click there. And then go into debunking Rusesabagina Catalan Gate, and then type in Nadim, Nadim. There we go. Yes,
got it
right here. Yes, okay. And you can actually see I saved the screenshots, but you can go to the link itself. So if you scroll down,
you want to go on the Twitter?
Oh, you can go to the Twitter, or you can look at sure. Let's look at it. So. He specifically says, I decided to give a recent Pegasus coverage the benefit of the doubt and spent time looking at this. And if you actually scroll, like go into the tweet. Not the picture itself, but go into the thread.
Yeah, so scroll down. Yeah, it's in it.
So he starts talking about that... He starts talking about that this is standard evidence used to make a moderate high confidence attributions. Scroll down, go into the blog post. I took the screenshot specifically.
This is in this
that one. Yes, scroll down. It says, yes, it says a number of researchers have been pointing out the bankrupt scientific methodology that Citizen Lab have been applying to their forensics reports, only to meet with predictable Twitter ad hominems. So this is a big deal. He's saying, and which is Dr. Jose Olivas is one of the people that he tags in there, and then Irina Zuckerman is an American human rights lawyer. Okay. They're researchers and trying to understand why these claims are being made. So Nadim is saying this scientific methodology is bankrupt. Like there's nothing, like it has no substantial evidence to make the claim that you are infected with Pegasus at all. And anyone that challenges them, you get a Twitter mob on you. You get they just attack you.
Half of which could be bots.
But these are like a lot of these people are like death threats. Like could half be bots. It could be, but it's massive.
And it's death threats when they do that.
Yeah, it's massive. And so now we can see, all right, there's even more. Right, this is a classical. What's he say? You can actually click on the image, the second image down there.
Classical. The ends justify the means scenario. They exaggerate results.
Yep.
Force themselves to provide attribution based on tortured pseudo evidence, all in order to raise awareness, but also to satisfy pre-existing political biases and agendas. I wish that would stop. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. This is a common problem, and I've run into this on other situations besides this. I look at it across different spectrums of whatever, and there's a thing that happens when people have a core belief. On their side. Okay, and when I say on their side, I mean it's literally on their side. As an example, I'll use a broad one. People should not be killed by their government for no reason. That's just the right thing.
Sure.
There's no one, if you disagree with that, then you're a fucking idiot.
Sure.
Right? So then they use that, and then anything that you do to question the means that they are using to justify that ends, they say, oh, well, you want them all dead, don't you?
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And so it appears that is the same hatchet job, which is what it is, being used here.
Yeah, and that's the common theme. And again, these 120, now over 120 professors have petitioned the Citizen Lab several times, not one or two, but 3 times. They petitioned them to provide evidence of the methodologies they're using, because this is affecting countries. Entire nations are being affected because the claims that Amnesty and Citizen Lab are saying is this country spied on these human rights defenders. Now let's have resolutions against them. And so they're going to European Parliament, Catalan Parliament, Spanish Senate, U.S. House Intelligence Committee, and they're putting all these claims in front of them, all these governing bodies, and saying, we have the evidence that these nations, Morocco, Rwanda, Spain, Hungary, list, Turkey, all these countries are engaging in digital espionage. Here's the proof. Wait a second.
You showed us a video before we got on air today.
Yeah.
It was on your YouTube channel. Leslie, can you pull that one up? The one
Jamal.
the one about Jamal Khashoggi.
Yes, this
go
is
to
important.
his YouTube channel. This was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
So Jamal Khashoggi, for people out there who don't remember that story, he was the Washington Post journalist, expat from Saudi Arabia, who was a part of a powerful family there, by the way. But he spoke out against MBS and the Saudi regime in his journalism, and he was executed in the Saudi embassy, in the Saudi consulate. It was consulate or embassy?
I think it was embassy. I think
Whatever.
Yeah.
In the Saudi something on Turkish soil before we play this video.
Yeah.
Leslie. And that was back in 2018. It was blatant. It was clear. Mohammed bin Salman was rumored to have been, and they have good evidence to say he was actually on the TV screen in the conference room as they killed him. His body was carried out of there in bags and never seen again. And pretty much Saudi Arabia got away with it. So in the aftermath, naturally, people are pissed at Saudi Arabia over what happened here. Again, let's start with the top here.
Right.
Government kills journalist. Bad.
Sure.
Very bad. I completely agree. But now look at some of the shit they're doing to try to claim it's something else.
Exactly.
All right, let's hit this video. The one truth, Pegasus. Okay, let's get some volume on it.
He was also being surveilled. Is there any doubt in your mind that Mr. Khashoggi was also being surveilled this way?
So it is 100% clear that he received one of these text messages containing a link.
Jamal Khashoggi was targeted as well, was he not?
Both Jamal's wife and his fiancée were targeted with Pegasus spyware. This is not uncommon to see targeting around a person. In the case of Jamal specifically, we don't have access to a device in order to do that analysis.
Whoa! Hold on.
So he comes out and he says, yeah, they were totally, it was like a South Park episode.
He said 100%.
They were totally targeted. They were totally targeted, 100%, man, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And then they're like, but we don't have access to this device. But they were targeted, believe me.
Yeah. And so the anti-fans said, oh, well, Jonathan clipped that CNN video, and he's not even talking about Jamal Khashoggi. He's talking about somebody else. Well, and I said, well, it's funny because in 2018, another media outlet actually transcribed that CNN video and said the exact same thing, posted the exact same thing. And you can't, what, you're going to say that it's a major Spanish media outlet that posted this, and I'm thinking, okay, what, but how is it that you go from 100% positive to, no, we never have the device. I feel like it's like, you should play like the theme for
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Curb Your Enthusiasm right after. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because what is going on? And so, but again, common theme. Now, the Catalan Gate is still ongoing. There's still, one of the things with the Catalan Gate is, it turns out, one of the people that was spied on was a Spanish member of Parliament. Well, at the end of December 2022, the Citizen Lab said, "Hey guys, we messed up. This man was never spied on. We confused his name with somebody else's name." And they wrote an article. You can actually go to it.
All right, good for them. Yeah. We don't need that.
But he had already for 6 months and plus, I think 8 months, given testimony. I've been spied on. My life's in shambles.
Well, he was told he had.
He was told,
Right.
right? And okay, he's a member of parliament. And his testimony was inserted in this human rights abuse draft from this committee. And then they let's just remove that.
What is this? This is the $10 million question beneath all this that some people are probably wondering right now. What is the political agenda here? Why? Because you had said before we went on there, there's a political agenda to it.
Absolutely.
Why do human rights organizations, I understand why they care about people being spied on.
Yeah.
Totally get that. But if they're cutting all these corners to claim that this specific company, NSO, is doing it with their product Pegasus, and let's say behind the scenes they know that at least in some level they're probably wrong about some of the cases at least, or, you know, they probably don't think all of them, but maybe they're wrong about most of them. Why are they so hell-bent on attacking this company? What is it, just because this company has taken whatever clients will pay around the world for the product, which I don't know if you said that on air, like how expensive it is?
Yeah, which I think there's a video that will, for when we get into the Rwanda case that we watched.
Yeah.
This part, in order to understand this part, what's the political, motivation, what's the agenda, we need to go back to who's funding them. Who's funding
Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International?
Yeah, well, who's funding Amnesty and Citizen Lab, and it all comes down to an organization, a think tank called the Ford Foundation. Now, the Ford Foundation is known to,
how do you spell that?
Ford, like Henry Ford.
Okay.
Yeah. Is
Ford,
so the Ford Foundation is known to be anti-Semitic organization, and I say this with confidence because they were actually I don't want to say the word sanctioned. They were fined by the United States Senator Nadler.
Jerry Nadler.
Yeah, for funding. They were fined for funding, and you can find this Jerry Nadler Ford Foundation.
Is it related to Henry Ford?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it's the same company?
It's the same. Yeah, it's the same.
Oh, he didn't like Jews too much.
Exactly, exactly. So when you look at the people, so you got the Ford Foundation, Nadler, type it like anti-Semitism. Oh, dude, it's just everywhere, like literally everywhere. And so Nadler said, "You guys are funding white supremacist groups, and we caught you." And they're like, "Yeah." I mean,
it's a very tired line from him, though.
They're like, yeah. I mean, yeah, we are, but we won't do it again. I mean, it's fine, right? And so then they're like, okay, well, we'll pay the fine. And so we have to go back into the history of like, what? Well, why? Who is funding the anti-Israeli organizations? Ford. Then we go into who's the MacArthur Foundation. And one of the things so MacArthur Foundation is another foundation. So think about
MacArthur.
The MacArthur Foundation is like it's not a think tank. It's a nonprofit organization that gives.
But who's MacArthur? Who's the name?
We'd have to look up. It's like it was we'd have to look up who MacArthur.
The John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation is a private foundation that makes grants and impact investments to support nonprofit orgs in approximately 117 countries around the world. It has an endowment of $7.6 billion.
Right.
And provides approximately $260 million annually in grants and impact investments.
Right.
Founders hit John D. MacArthur. Yeah, good call.
Okay. So go back to my...
Who is this guy? American... Whenever you see the word magnate, bro,
you're done. That's it.
Hit Wikipedia. John Donald MacArthur was an American insurance magnate, real estate investor, and philanthropist who established... He died in 1978. Sounds like a... Yeah. Okay.
So if you go back to my Twitter and go back to the highlights.
Died in West Palm Beach.
A rich man.
Okay.
Okay. Go back to my highlights.
On your actual
in my page, yeah.
Okay.
And then scroll down and you'll see.
What date are we looking at?
You'll see there's not too many highlights. MacArthur, scroll down. Right there.
Okay.
Click on that image.
There we go.
Okay, now check this out. If you were claiming to be the peer reviewer of a methodology, but you're funded by the same
Yes,
people.
yeah,
Yeah.
No, that
You
doesn't
get
work.
it?
Yeah, follow the money. 100%.
Follow the money. And the thing is this, so my colleague, Dr. Jose Olivas, who is a professor at the London School of Economics, by the way.
Shit school.
It's horrible. He hates it. Yeah. Yeah, amazing researcher and professor. He's petitioned the Citizen Lab and all these other entities to say, who's funding you? Who is funding you? How is this, like, why is this, why are you not disclosing this? Now, let's get into Apple, WhatsApp. All right. So there are things that we do know.
Apple and WhatsApp are two separate things.
Oh, they are. But they're still tied to all of this.
iOS.
Well, they're tied to this issues, let's call it. Now, when they're one of the things that Apple does is they'll send you a text message to say, hey, you know what? We know that your phone is being spied on. What the hell?
Wait, really?
I'm not joking. Go to Google and type in Apple threat notification. So Apple's sending you a text message and saying, we know that you're spy.
So get them the fuck out. You're Apple.
Wait, but I'm thinking, wait, hold on. Yeah, Apple's threat notifications. You can click on one and these
Alert. State-sponsored attackers may be targeting
This
your
is
iPhone.
real.
Can you imagine,
Yeah.
Janet, the secretary, getting this? Like,
I'm
what the fuck?
What this happened? Am I being fished? And you go to like one of the pop-ups because it comes up in a pop-up. You can see it like one of the other images, like of the actual phone or like.
These are the messages that we're
Yeah, exactly.
all the same messages.
So people are posting this on Twitter. I'm being attacked by Pegasus, and no one's asking, well, how did Apple know?
Hey guys, if you have a second, please be sure to share this episode around on social media and with your friends, whether it's Reddit, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, doesn't matter. It's all a huge help. It gets new eyeballs on the show, and it allows us to grow and survive. So thank you to all of you who have already been doing that, and thank you to all of you who are going to do so now. How would they? Well, could they know through the software?
But I guess people will say, well, we signed the agreement that says Apple can monitor anything that we do. So what? Of course they're gonna. Hold on, wait a second. No one's asking that question. Why is Apple monitoring my device for this? Well, there was an initiative that came about in which Apple partnered with the Citizen Lab, of course. And they're partnered with Ford Foundation. And Apple said, here's $10 million to help us find Pegasus on iPhones. And one of the questions, when the Catalan Gate is a very, very particular case because there was a member of European Parliament named Jordi Cañas who sent a request for information to Ron Diebert, the director of the Citizen Lab, which, by the way, in 2001 is when the Citizen Lab started. The organization that started the Citizen Lab, funded it, was the Ford Foundation.
Of course.
So this member of European Parliament sends the director a list of questions and says, have you ever worked with Apple before you have made all of these claims? And he says, no, we've never worked with Apple. But in fact, they had worked with Apple, and Apple had. And have you ever been funded by them? Have you ever been given anything? And it's very explicit, in which Apple says, yeah, we're working with the Citizen Lab, and we're offering them security resources, threat researchers. We're giving them our people. But they said, no, we've never done that before. Now, we go back into the Catalan Gate. Now, this is one of the things about the cybersecurity industry and InfoSec specifically that is very troubling. My specialty, as I mentioned, it's very, very niche. I'm not going to do things that I don't know how to do or claim. But if you brought in another cybersecurity expert, they say, oh yeah, I'm gonna speak on anything because I'm in cybersecurity. Wait, hold on. You can't just speak on anything. You don't have the training. You don't have the expertise. And the reason I mention this is one of the people involved in the Catalan game, this is so silly, this is unbelievable, was a man that his name is Elias. He said he was high-ranking Telegram officer. And, well, it turns out he never worked for Telegram. And the Citizen Lab decided to hire him as a forensics expert, in which he's never done this before. So he was one of the people that was...
He was a charlatan.
But Elias Campo is his name. And there's articles about it. Telegram spokesman came out and said...
Never worked here.
No, he was like a intern or something of this sort, but was never like a high-ranking...
Right. Doesn't know shit.
Yeah, but they put this guy on, under oath, and it was like, did you perform these forensics analysis? Oh, I guess he performed something. What did he perform? What is it that he performed on these devices? How would he know what he's looking at? Like, who is super? Where did he get his training? Where did he go to college? Where did he get his master's? Where did he get his doctorate? Right. And this is important because there was a member of European Parliament that had tweeted at me at one point and said, we are not going to accept you as an expert witness in European Parliament until you finish your doctorate. Once you finish your doctorate, then we'll consider. But I'm thinking, how does Elias Campo get to perform forensic analysis and speak in front of the entire European Parliament and speak in front of Catalan Parliament and give his expert testimony? And these are the troubling things because this is a common theme where the people watching this podcast are going to say, Jonathan's a fraud, he's this and this and this. And no one ever asks them, what do you do?
Right.
What is your specialty? Well, it doesn't matter. Well, these are very important. These are very important things. And as it pertains, because the ultimate issue, again, is that entire countries are being affected by these false accusations of human rights abuses. And I say this with confidence because now I'm going to jump into what happens. What is the consequence of reporting these Pegasus infections while knowing that you have false positives in your report? I'm going to give you an example.
Okay.
Something very clear. You are on trial for murder. And the prosecution is withholding evidence that could exonerate you because they found false positives in your DNA sample. So you go to jail for 10 years until finally someone figures out, wait, the prosecution withheld this. And you've heard of cases like this before, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And this is exactly what's happening within European Parliament, right? In the case of Rwanda and Morocco specifically.
The Rwanda thing, we're going to talk about that. Is nuts. If you've seen the movie Hotel Rwanda, you're right in the middle of it.
Absolutely. So we'll jump into the Rwanda piece right now.
Well, finish this point.
Yeah, so it's all tying together.
Okay.
So in the case of Karine Kanimba, which is a Rwandan Belgian American that is alleged to be infected with Pegasus many times.
But who is she?
She is the adopted daughter of Paul Rusesabagina, who is the
Don Cheadle.
main character of Hotel Rwanda, played by Don Cheadle. Oh,
I was on his page, his Wikipedia, about this probably 2 years ago, because I love that movie.
Yeah,
and I've seen it several times, and I forget, like, some rabbit hole happened. I'm like, oh, I wonder what that guy's up to.
Yeah.
And I started reading it, and I was like, holy fuck, bro.
Yeah.
So before you even get into the story of him during the Rwandan genocide in 94 with, again, if you haven't seen the movie Hotel Rwanda, it is a great movie. It turns out some of it's fiction. But
sure, yeah.
he was this guy who owned a hotel while the Hutus were massacring the Tutsis.
Yep.
And the way the story goes is he had all these Tutsis and moderate Hutus put up at his hotel and basically saved their lives and was this hero.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was reading his Wikipedia, there was this whole thing where there was an FBI sting.
Yeah.
He had been living in San Antonio, where you're from, ironically, and had been deported back to fucking Rwanda, and he was sitting in a Rwandan prison. I was like, oh my God. So what happened here?
So all of this that sounds just wild ties together. So the case of the Rwandan case is heavily based around this man, Paul Rusesabagina, again, the main character of this film, and his adoptive daughter, Karine Kanimba, says, I have been infected with Pegasus 1 week. She said this claims like 1 week after her father was allegedly kidnapped from Texas to Kigali, Rwanda.
With
Now,
the FBI's help. Which is why you put that in there.
The Rwandan government set up a sting operation, and I'll walk you through the exact events that happened. But this part is important because this happened in 2020. The alleged infection of her phone, the first alleged infection of her phone, happened in 1 week after his kidnapping in 2020. She never tells House Intelligence Committee about this. She tells a reporter that this actually happened. And then she says she destroyed that device. Yes. So she says she destroyed that device. So but the Citizen Lab was the one that actually helped her determine that she was being spied on 1 week.
You showed me a video though.
Oh yeah, that was her third. In reality, that's her third device. And this is where it gets really, really shady because she never tells anyone about the first device. The only way I found out about it was through interviews that she gave in 2020. 2021 is when she says her second device is infected. Now, how does this all tie into Paul Rusesabagina? So I'm going to give you a little backstory on when his daughter says specifically that he was kidnapped from San Antonio through Dubai to Kigali.
Right.
False, absolutely false. Even reporters have called this out. American reporters have said this is not a kidnapping. This is a sting operation. And why would they do a sting operation? Well,
yeah, and how do you differentiate the two in this context?
Absolutely. Well, what happened was over time, when after the genocide against the Tutsi had occurred, this hotel manager, Paul Rusesabagina, had these radical ideals and left Rwanda, went to Belgium, and then when this movie Hotel Rwanda came out in 2004, yep, yeah. Exactly.
10 years after.
Right. He received this Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Damn it, W.
Yeah, right.
No homework.
and so he, at this time, he had made friends with Senator Kruger, who was an ambassador, I believe it was to Burundi. Okay. And so they made friends. So this is why he moved to San Antonio, because the Krugers lived in San Antonio. And
is that Diane Kruger, or did I make that up?
I think you're right. Diane Kruger, yeah.
Pretty sure. Around in my head.
Pretty sure Diane Kruger, yeah. And so which is actually now like they're related in the sense that it's his wife's, Paul Rusesabagina's wife's godmother is Diane Kruger. It's interesting dynamic, but either way, they became very, very close. Maybe not.
Yeah, see, I did make that up.
Was
That's
it?
the hot
No.
actress.
Wait,
yeah.
Go to Senator. Type in like type in what's her name? Type in Senator Kruger's wife. Yeah, Senator Kruger's wife. I thought her name was. It sounded right. Let's see. Hold on.
Liz Kruger, a member of the New York State Senate.
Kathleen Kruger.
Kathleen Tobin.
Well, I think it's probably her.
Used to be Kruger.
Used to be Kruger. Yeah, Kathleen. That's her name.
Bob Kruger was married to former Kathleen Tobin of Bandera, Texas, who co-authored the book From Bloodshed to Hope in Burundi. Okay, yeah, that's her.
Right, that's her. And so they became very close. Now he started up this he, as in Paul Rusesabagina, started the Hotel Rwanda Rusesabagina Foundation, where they would shadily intake money, which is, there's a whole thing with that.
Do you
Well,
have that report over there?
yeah,
Hand me
absolutely.
that report. I mean, look at that thick sucker.
So he starts gaining all this international fame, starts speaking engagements, et cetera, and well, he becomes the president of this political organization that, let's say, meshed or not meshed. They essentially came to, how do I say it? Like they formed his political organization, and a militia, an armed militia group, came together, and they were called the FLN. Now,
He's operating on.
And he's operating out of San Antonio.
This sounds a lot like Frank Amadeo.
Okay, so
Remember that?
So
Right?
he's funding this militia, this armed militia group called the FLN,
Because he don't like Kagame.
because he doesn't like
Who's
Paul
in charge
Kagame.
of Rwanda.
Right, and so he's speaking out against Kagame, and he even says, "I'm going to run for president of Rwanda
From San Antonio.
from San Antonio," and
That'll go well.
the Kruger said, "Wow, this is great. Let's do a press release." And everyone's like, "Wait, you can't." First off, the bylaws in Rwanda say that you actually have to live here to be actually running, and so he But at this point, the FBI gets involved because Rwanda sends a request for information about They find out that he's funding this armed terrorist group called the FLN, and they say, "Well, we need more information so that we can gather as much as we can. Can you send us the Western Union transfers that he's sending from a supermarket to this general, this major?"
God damn it.
And they're like, "Yeah, sure." So the FBI, and this is stamped documents from the FBI, and then and they're like, "Okay, great. Well, let me go." So they said, "Well, let me ask the Belgian intelligence and Belgian police to now investigate the other people that are helping him in Belgium, like write this terrorist manifestos." And so, yeah, so fast forward, ends up that his funding of terrorism kills 9 Rwandans. And then his armed militia, and you can find this, you can see the FLN.
Quick question.
Yeah.
I have to ask this.
Yeah.
There's a dangerous quote that floats around.
Yeah.
I think you know what I'm going to say.
Sure.
But it goes, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
Okay.
Certainly a lot of situations where that
Sure.
does not apply.
Yeah.
Is there anything to support the idea that what he was funding was actually truly trying to fight against, say, tyrannical objectives of Kagame?
Well, no, because these people were on a bus and they opened fire
Oh, that's
on a
not good.
bus. So there's nothing.
Very
They
good.
were
You're Christian. That's
They
bad, right?
yeah. They were
You're
unarmed.
Christian. That's bad, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah, unless
very,
you say it's
very
bad.
bad. Like they burned to death. They were shot to death. They were unarmed civilians going about their day, and they died. And this was a big deal, obviously, because well, what happened? So there's investigations in this, and obviously they trace it back to, yes, this was the FLN committed this attack. Or engaged in this attack. Who funded them? Well, Rusesabagina funded them, and he said, and there's just so many documents with his signature on them, and even the FLN websites that are promoting this violent actions in order to maintain dominance in Rwanda, so that they can build up a larger militia and overthrow President Kagame. It's just wild, and just absolutely wild. So this sting operation was executed, and President Kagame said it was flawless, is what he said. He said it was flawless. So what they did was, because Rusesabagina had a contact in Burundi. He was a preacher, and he said, "Hey, Rusesabagina, we're going to meet with our people in Burundi, which is a country, right below Rwanda, and we're going to meet with our people and discuss, our next event or attack or whatever and whatnot." And he says, "Yeah, sure." And this is during COVID, 2020. So he flies from San Antonio to Qatar, then takes a rest in a hotel in Qatar for a little bit, then jumps on a private plane. What kind of preacher in Burundi do you think would have a private jet? But he didn't think anything of it, because that's just...
His name isn't Shmuel Osteen.
It's like how he rolls. Like this, I mean, you're talking about like, yeah, I got my... I'm going to pick you up on my private jet real quick in Qatar. So he's like, all right, yeah. And then so when he wakes up, he's not in Burundi, he's in Kigali. And you've got, intelligence, and officers like arresting him and then, taking him to prison. And he's like, "I've been kidnapped. Wait, hold on. You were tricked. This is what a sting operation is. You were tricked." So, and this minister admits in court, "Yes, I was part of the sting operation." So he says it under oath. He's like, "I was part of the sting operation. I did this because he got immunity."
That's how it goes.
That's how it goes.
That's how it goes.
And so the argument then from his daughter's side is he was kidnapped. So what does she do? She goes to Kathleen Kruger. She goes to the senators from Texas, the Democrats, and says, "My father has been kidnapped. He's a human rights advocate. It's illegal detention. They're not feeding him. They're not giving him. They're putting him. He has a heart condition."
Did she have any contact with him? Was she allowed to contact him at all?
Before she was allowed contact with him, I wrote in my report that she said, it's somewhere in the beginning. It's that she says, we know that he's being mistreated. We know that he's not being given.
And she might be
food.
right, but like to say we know without knowing,
absolutely. And so she's sending all of this, information out to media, and it's a storm, right? He's been kidnapped. Well, it turns out that media starts retracting and saying, well, we can't really say he's been kidnapped because, well, actually, there's evidence that he's funding terrorism, and there's we have a lot of proof that he's been funding terrorists, and these 9 people died, and the FBI's involved. All these documents are showing that your father is he's not this.
On that note, you want to talk about what you uncovered about his history during the war?
Oh, absolutely.
Because this is right in that vein, so we should cover that right now.
And again, this is important in the report that I wrote because I had to understand the history of Paul Rusesabagina. Now, in the movie Hotel Rwanda, he alleges that he specifically alleges that he saved over 2,000 people.
Was that many?
That's what he says. He says with his own words, I saved, and his daughter pushes the same narrative to over 2,000 people. Well, it turns out, and he says, I saved all of these people in the hotel room. That's the quote from the Oh yeah, I'll have you read that.
I'm right on it.
Yeah. So he says, I saved these people. And so these declassified documents came out from the National Archives, in which a general from the UNMAR, this is the United UN Peacekeepers, said people are frustrated about this film. All around the world, they're like, these events are false. He did not save anyone at the Hotel Mille Collines. It was the UN peacekeepers and in Congolese Brazzaville peacekeepers that were helping everyone and taking fire. And even one of the Congolese Brazzaville peacekeepers was blown up right in front of the hotel. And this man's taking all the credit. And so this general was
General Dallaire.
Yes, General.
Who's Nick Nolte in the movie.
Yes, exactly. So he's upset about this, and he tells, and if you want to read specifically.
You want me to read the Q&A back and forth? Is that what you want?
I think there's a part where it explicitly states that Rusesabagina did not, and it's probably in italics.
Here, you go take a look. Yeah, it's definitely in italics. But there's a back and forth because this guy was upset how he was portrayed in the movie. Because he was portrayed, I mean, he was in the right role. He was a UN peacekeeper, a general. He was from Canada, right? I think. And so he was upset, though, because the movie made him a part of this plot that, like, this Rusesabagina was the guy who was this benevolent hotel owner who saved all these people, when in reality, and I think you have it right there.
Yeah, right here. Yep. Yeah, so exactly. So this is a quote from these declassified top secret documents were released by the U.S. National Archives in 2014 regarding the Rwandan conflict, the genocide against the Tutsi, and these. This is an interview with the director of the National Security Archives, Tom Blanton, and and Lieutenant General Romeo Dallaire. He was a force commander of the United Nations Assistance Mission for Rwanda. He says, quote, "I would like you to acknowledge the role played by those UNAMIR troops who stayed in Rwanda, including the troops from Congo-Brazzaville, who were the ones who saved the people at the Hotel Mille Collines, not the hotel manager, Paul Rusesabagina." I mean...
Now, is this one man's word against another man's, though?
No. This is the word of many other people. And so I thought I need to actually have more sources. Like, I need to have more people to corroborate this. So journalists even are corroborating.
You found journalists?
Absolutely.
Who are they?
I can read this for you.
Please.
Right. So one of the journalists specifically says, let's see, this is Dallaire. Okay, so one of the journalists is writing in a communication.
A communication?
A communication wire back to the U.S. His name was redacted, but it does have the records in that can it literally says redacted in here. But okay, it says so the UNAMIR continued its efforts to evacuate people caught between the lines and evacuated 246 people from the Hotel Mille Collines and 290 from the stadium in Kigali yesterday. The situation in Kigali was tense, and there was exchange of heavy artillery fire yesterday. Some government forces had been seen moving south, but there was no significant changes in positions. The militia was still maintaining roadblocks in the government-held areas. The RPF advances continued, and they had been reported as having taken control of the portions of important roads, and it gives the names of these roads. Otherwise, there was no change in positions. In other and parts of the country, says one UNAMIR officer, a Senegalese, had been killed today when the vehicle was traveling between the Hotel Mille Collines and UNAMIR. UNAMIR headquarters was hit by a mortar bomb. So there were reporters that stayed at the Hotel Mille Collines during all of this during these battles.
Can I put on a tinfoil hat for a minute?
Go for it.
Kagame's a bad guy, right? The guy who's running Rwanda. He's objectively not too good, right?
I would disagree with that.
You would?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Play with my hypothetical for a minute. Let's
go
say
for
he's
it.
not the best.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go. Yeah.
Even if he actually was fine.
Sure.
Let's say that, he's the leader of a small country, there's financial interests or whatever.
Yeah.
And there are powerful structures around the world who have a financial interest in this guy having power.
Sure. Okay.
Could they be poisoning stuff like this, just like they poison other stuff? Meaning, could they be poisoning sources to say, oh, it was actually this way versus that way to, take the little poor hotel owner out?
Okay.
I'm just playing a hypothetical.
Yeah, the hypothetical, that's good though, right? It's good to think about, we have to think about the other side. Could this be a ruse? Could this be just right? The challenge is this, that I thought before I looked into this entire case and I started getting really deep into it, I had never seen the movie Hotel Rwanda before until I started researching this specific spyware case. I didn't know all of these. I didn't know the other side. I was thinking, wow, this is horrible. This man is a hero, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. That's what I thought.
Right. So I started asking scholars, like PhD scholars, genocide against the Tutsi scholars. I started asking academics for more information where I could find the other side, right? Were there people saying that he's not a hero? Because there was so much information that's saying he's a hero. What about the other side, that he's not a hero? And I found that, and I even interviewed people that were in the Hotel Mille Collines, in which they said, this man that said saved us was charging us to stay there, or we were going to be kicked out of the hotel. And this was a common theme. And I thought, you know what? Maybe they're just trying to discredit him, right? Maybe because they're too close to the situation. Maybe they're, and they're Tutsi. Maybe they're trying to discredit him. Until I found an American journalist named Maggie Rulli, who went to Rwanda, went to Kigali.
When?
Later
okay.
on.
And this may all be right.
Yeah, and let's say in the late 2010s. Again, it's in a report, and Maggie decides to interview people because she also had heard these these stories of people that say that he was not a hero. Now, she went in and she started asking people, what did he charge you? And they said yes. And then she asked, well, what was your experience? So she didn't ask, did he charge you then? And so she started asking different questions. And the same narrative kept coming from the people that were there. He charged for people to stay in a hotel or they were going to be removed and sent out.
Yeah, so he's profiting.
And this was, and an interview, he was speaking in Kenya, Rwanda, which is the language of Rwanda, Kenya, Rwanda. He admits that, yes, he charged people. He admits it in an actual interview that he charged people. And these kinds of things are being pushed aside by the narrative, by the people that want to believe that he was a hero and that he saved these people. Imagine this. Imagine that these American soldiers, imagine American soldiers, if the audience can understand this. American soldiers are not given the credit for actually saving the lives of these 2,000 people, and they're actually saying, you know what, this guy that ran the Hilton actually saved everyone. Come on, bro.
Yeah.
Did you shed blood?
It's a great movie.
It's a great fictional movie, dude. It's a great fictional movie. And to that end, he does admit in another interview in Kenya, Rwanda, that this movie is fiction.
He does.
He says it with his own words.
Now, wait. Is that out of context where he's saying there's parts of it that they used fictional Hollywood license for? Or is he saying the movie in general is
likely
fiction?
In general, I would go that likely in general, because obviously these events did not happen in which he says he saved. There were likely events that were, maybe could be, could be true, but in general.
Wait, go back, Alessi, for a sec. Go down. Top video.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Real life Hotel Rwanda.
A hero to so many.
So he was released.
Oh, he was released.
Oh yeah, he ended up. So this
But who later
happened
found
last.
himself
Yeah,
in
this happened
handcuffs.
last year. He was released.
Paul Rusesabagina, the activist whose
he in
life
America now?
inspired the Hollywood
he's back in San
blockbuster
Antonio
Hotel
chilling.
Rwanda, was freed from prison
Oh, yeah.
in the capital Kigali
Oh, I didn't
last
know this.
night.
Oh
The
man.
latest chapter in a Hollywood tale turned criminal trial.
There will be no rescue. We must shame them into sending help.
The 2004 film dramatized
so
how,
good, yeah.
a decade
For
earlier,
He's a great actor, though.
Rusesabagina, himself a
Great actor.
Hutu,
I love
saved
John
more than
Chico, yeah,
1,000 Tutsis from murderous Hutu gangs during the Rwandan genocide. Paul Kagame, now president, was initially lauded for stopping the genocide. But 3 decades on, and still clinging to power, he stands accused of human rights abuses, and Rusesabagina was one of his vocal critics.
The time has come for us to use any means possible to bring about change
Pause.
in Rwanda, as all political means.
You can see right up there at the top right, it says FLN. So this was one of the speeches in which he admits that, hey, it's time to take that violent action and overthrow President Kagame. This is real footage in which they're reporting. Thankfully, they're reporting that this is, the other side. But yeah, this is what I was talking about, the FLN. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Have been tried and failed.
That statement was used against him in court. He was accused of being part of an armed group trying to overthrow the government. But how did he arrive in Rwanda in 2020? Because by then he was a Belgian citizen with permanent residency in the United States. He was effectively kidnapped. He thought he was flying to Burundi from Dubai. Instead, he ended up in handcuffs and then the docks, found guilty of terror offences.
It was aimed at Hutus who live
She
in
hates
Rwanda
me.
because they had come to see Rusesabagina as
that her
a
last name's
champion
wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Hutus living abroad, who was bravely denouncing Paul Kagame's government. And when he was lured and snatched and then sentenced to 25 years in prison, it spelt to them, look, I can get you.
But internationally, this was all declared a show trial. And ever since, the Americans have pushed for his release. And recently, Kagame said he was willing to move on the issue.
I can only say
So let's pause right here
there is
for a second. So this is, prisoners are granted clemency, right, at the end of a term, in the U.S., right?
Right.
It's the same thing that happens over there. So they're misrepresenting
Meaning they're let out ahead sometimes.
Right. Yeah, they're like, hey, you can go, like Lil Wayne was like pardoned by.
Well, that's a pardon. That's different.
Right, it's the same thing. This is like the same, like they pardoned Rusesabagina, and
he pardoned him?
Yeah, and a whole bunch of other people because it's that time of the year. And
Wait, but that's Kagame pardoned him, cleared his record.
I mean, that's what happened.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah.
there is work going on about it.
Why has the Rwandan government released him now?
So I think it's by sheer dint of repetition. Every single time that Antony Blinken met Kagame, he brought this issue up. Every single time that US congressmen were having encounters with either the Rwandan embassy or members of the Rwandan government, they would ask about Rusesabagina. And I think it's had a drip, drip, drip effect. So in the end, I think Kagame must have thought, I'm making myself a lot of enemies in Washington, and that's not a good enemy to have.
But if they felt Washington's ire, the Rwandans haven't been given the cold shoulder by London, with Home Secretary Suella Braverman visiting the country recently as part of her government's plans to send migrants there.
On behalf of the UK government, we are absolutely
That was
delighted and excited
interesting.
about
This is
our
interesting.
partnership
Like,
with Rwanda.
There's a complete disparity. And I know that in Washington, they're really puzzled by what they see as this very strange position being taken by Rishi Sunak and by his ministers.
The Rwandan government today said Rusesabagina's sentence had been commuted, but his conviction still stands.
Okay, so they didn't pardon him.
He's expected to fly back to the United States in the coming
so I
days.
stand corrected.
Yeah.
Commuted him. Yeah, there you go.
Well, earlier I spoke to Yolande Makola, a spokesperson for the Rwandan government.
So yeah, thanks for the correction.
Yeah.
So I think what's important to understand is that how is this related to spyware?
Yes. Now we're bringing it
right. So now we kind of understand who this guy is, what he's accused of, and all this. So his daughter has powerful friends. We're talking like senators. We're talking about like congressmen. We're talking about like the people that were actually lobbying for him to be released, and he's constantly like press and speaking around the world that he's kidnapped, et cetera, et cetera. And so she used this kidnapping of a hero and fused it with her own situation where she alleged she was spied on. Now, she spoke in front of U.S. House Intelligence Committee. And I spoke to Kareem personally. And
you spoke to the daughter.
How'd
that happen?
Yeah, well, I just messaged her on Twitter.
You go in DMs with her?
Yeah, DMs, and I posted all the DMs too.
Did you ever talk with her on the phone or anything?
No, she gave me her phone number, and we didn't talk on the phone. But I don't think that she, after my report, I don't think she would ever want to. But what we did discuss before she blocked me and whatnot was she gave me her forensics report. This forensics report was not a forensics report. It was this methodology, the same methodology that was published in 2021 that gave the false positive results based and was the basis of this MVT tool. That was her report. Let me be more clear. Her forensics report included 50 plus other people's forensics report. So how is this your forensics report if 50 plus other people are also in here and you're giving me this and it's like a signed official, this is a sham. This is not what you do. This is not a forensics report. It's a blog post in a PDF. Seriously. This is what it came down to. And so when she presented this forensics report to the U.S. House Intelligence Committee, one thing that stood out was she alleged her espionage occurred in a February of 2021, that she was confirmed to be spied on February 2021 by Amnesty International. Well, the forensics report, another forensics report was released by the Belgian government in which they alleged to have done forensics analysis on her device. That device's operating system was there was no way that operating system could have ever been released in February of that year. Because,
how do you know that?
Well, we can actually bring this up, and because this is very.
What are we bringing up?
So if we go to my Twitter, and actually, let me see if my computer has a little bit of charge to it, so I can do it faster. But I
actually got to go to the bathroom, so we'll pull this up. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
All right, we're back. We got it?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, got it. So the timeline of events are very important to analyze. So the official testimony given to House Intelligence Committee stated that the initial infection, which we understand is not the first infection, it's now the second, but she's claiming it's the first, because the first phone was destroyed in 2020.
She destroyed it.
She destroyed it, and she said
a week after
a week after they kidnapped her father, allegedly kidnapped him, right? But now she's coming to House Intelligence Committee and saying, well, Amnesty International and the Citizen Lab confirmed that I was infected with Pegasus spyware February of 2021. Well, she presents a document saying she had an iPhone X running iOS 14.6, and this was confirmed, and she gives it says in the document, iPhone X running 14.6. Well, 14.6 was not released until May 24th, 2021.
Oh, so it's just wrong. Now, is there a mistake there in her reporting that she meant to say 14.4 or something?
No. This is in many places. This is in many places. This is in a report from the Belgian intelligence, the same 14.6. This is in her forensic report, 14.6.
And she was in it, to be clear, you said this already, she was an adopted daughter, but she was a girl who had been at the hotel. Is that what it was?
Yeah. So her and her sister were they're adopted because her parents were
killed,
were unfortunately killed during the genocide against the Tutsi.
So Rusesabagina
adopted
her.
I believe it was their family members. I think maybe either his wife's or his. I think it was his wife's family members. Those were his daughters. Those were her like his wife's sister's daughters that they adopted. Right. So they were family.
Oh, they were family.
They were family.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. But again, so it's not possible. Now here's the scenarios. Again, and this is where we jump into the video, the clip that I had sent you. And this is where we come into saying, all right, if you're alleging that this operating system version is the one that was infected, well, first, there's no chain of custody. So like we talked about, there was no quarantine. You didn't stop the usage. Means you gave the device back to if you found the spyware in February, you gave the device back to Karine, which in fact is what Citizen Lab and Amnesty do. They don't ever quarantine the devices. Here's your device, and they don't. In fact, they don't.
Which is totally.
It's normal. It's normal to just here's your phone back that's infected with a malware. And the thing is that all right? So they give it back, and so now what are we looking at? What are we analyzing? If you updated your operating system, what are you finding? If you found it in February, well, it just doesn't make sense. Right. Well, this is again a common theme in which the Citizen Lab and Amnesty specifically the Citizen Lab director says, we don't even need the phone to do forensics analysis. He in an interview with a Spanish newspaper, El País, he says, it would not even be useful to us to have the phone. Those were his words. It would not even be useful for us to have the phone. And
that makes no sense.
It makes no sense. But he's quoted saying that in this interview with El País. And all of us scientists are saying, you absolutely need it. And they are only relying on iCloud backups in order to determine that your phone is infected. And then,
and she's claiming it's up to 3 phones or something at this point that have been affected?
If we can play this small clip.
Yeah, can you airdrop that again? Because you had airdropped it to me and I don't have it.
Sure.
But airdrop that to Alessi. So this was what we were watching earlier.
Yeah, hopefully I can still airdrop it.
Your argument is that if you or I figured out right now or believed that our phone was infected by Pegasus, the argument is that if it's got Pegasus, then it can hear everything we're doing. It can track everything we're doing. It's in all of our data.
Yeah.
So you turn that fucker off and send it into the lab to get, Faraday cage, all that shit, whatever. Or you destroy it. I guess that would help too, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean they're still in there?
I mean, you could destroy it. The best thing to do would be just destroy it, right?
Right. And now they're not in there if it's destroyed.
Yeah.
They can't get access to your iCloud. Okay.
Just get another one.
So in this clip, she's carrying it around and it allegedly has Pegasus on it.
And this happens frequently with her. Is your airdrop on?
Yeah. Are you sending it to Alessi?
Yeah, it's weird. It didn't. I'm going to try again. Hold on.
As a little post edit, guys, if there's some jumping today in the edit, it's because there's all kinds of files and all kinds of different links and stuff that Jonathan's been pulling up all day. I want to make it as good of an experience for you guys as possible. But what I like about John is he likes every fucking thing cited.
Absolutely.
Which is great. And if you don't believe me, read his reports right here, which are fucking nuts. Thank you,
okay, so let's pause here for just 1 second. Just want to give a kind of pre-context. This is the Oslo Freedom Forum in which so Karine is giving her testimony, and this is before her father was released, and she's speaking at this human rights convention, and then she's also speaking about her experience being infected with Pegasus, and the speaker right now is the master of ceremonies for the Oslo Freedom Forum. This is
the guy, right?
Yeah, the guy. It's 2022, so we can go forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here because we have to make an announcement, and the announcement is somewhat terrifying. Some of you may be aware that there is a company operating out of the state of Israel called NSO, and it focuses on creating software that is sold primarily to intelligence agencies, including dictatorships. They are the people that are responsible for the Pegasus virus. The Pegasus virus is software that all they need is your telephone number. With your telephone number, without you clicking a link, without you receiving anything, just with your telephone number.
True information.
They can take absolute control of a cell phone. They know everything that you have access to. If your phone has Pegasus, they have access to.
True.
They know who you call, where you are. They can turn the phone on at any time. They know everything that's happening.
Turn it on at any time.
And as part of the interactive exhibits,
they can turn on
and the
specific
booths
services
downstairs, Citizen Lab, an organization that works out of Canada and has been a pioneer and on the front lines of protecting activists and securing privacy. They have a booth downstairs. We have offered this booth to members of our community where you can go and in a matter of minutes, they can tell you if you have Pegasus on your phone.
That's where I was.
Without
pause
connecting your phone to any.
Let's pause 1 second. He said, in a matter of minutes, we can tell if you have Pegasus on your phone. We have a booth. And then the next part is what's really concerning. Now, understanding he's not a tech expert. He's speaking as a layman in his interpretation. So I'm going to kind of give him the benefit of the doubt. But let's continue for the next piece.
Okay.
Anything, they can inform you just by looking through some things if you have Pegasus. And there are two people in the Oslo Freedom Forum community that in the past 24 hours have been diagnosed as having Pegasus. Now, Pegasus costs a dictatorship about $1 million per license.
Yeah.
So it's $1 million cyber weapon. And sadly, her phone was found to have Pegasus yesterday. It's active right now. Do you have your phone?
Yes, and this is the second phone actually that's infected. Last year, Amnesty International conducted forensics analysis on my Belgian phone and discovered that I had the software. And just yesterday, we learned that my US phone also currently has the spyware, which means that Paul Kagame is listening to us right now. You want to talk to him?
Pause, hold on. That woman sitting on the right.
That's wrong.
That's wrong. That's Michaela Wrong. If you notice her face.
A name.
I know, right? If you notice her face, if you go back. Spit out signal. Yeah, she's like, oh, this is silly. Like, this is like, she even knows what's about to happen is just absolutely,
Okay.
Yeah, let's go for it.
The applause was not for you, Paul Kagame. The applause was for the fact that despite all of this, you have a sense of humor about this. Paul, we'd like to send you the love that your father never gave you. And we hope that you can find and come to some peace and stop the activities that you're doing. That said, we will be removing Pegasus from this phone.
Okay. Okay.
All right, let's pause. Knock off Robert Downey Jr. here. So can you even, at that point, like when he says we're going to remove it, they're like talking into this device or whatever. So is he taking it somewhere real after this and actually pretending to remove it?
Who even knows? Because after this, she goes to another conference with the exact same phone case and the exact same phone, and she takes it out of her pocket.
That's so questionable.
In the same manner, and she gives the same song and dance. My phone is infected. Right after this, she goes into another conference and says the same thing. She does the same thing in European Parliament. She takes out her phone in European Parliament and says, "My phone is infected." And I'm just like, what is this? Like, what is this? Like, is this real or is this a joke? Right? Because you're alleging illicit activity in which you have now tampered with evidence. And you're still presenting this to governing bodies around the world, and you're making a mockery and saying, hey.
Do you think, though, that she could have so many of these people in her ears saying, yo, it's fine that you have that. It's not good, but, like, we got you. Like, listen, we're going to do this. We're going to bring it out. We have to show people what this is. And she wants to get her dad out of prison. this point. Do you think like she's being used here? Because I think that's very plausible that could be.
If she's
I'd be upset if my dad was in prison.
Yeah, but I mean, so this comes down to, right, like, do you have a moral compass? Because what's happening, right, what's happening is that the effects of this are real. And I say this because the European Parliament passed a motion of resolution against Rwanda for spying on her. But at this time, this motion for resolution that was passed, there were false positives in the data that was presented to House Intel, European Parliament, that were never presented. Ever presented. So that's withholding information. So one of the things that I posted and I wrote about in this white paper is when they went to House Intel. When I say they, Citizen Lab and Kanimba went to House Intel, they signed a document that said under the penalty of this criminal USC code, withholding information is a crime, etc. Knowingly withholding information that there were false positives within her forensics report. This is where it gets interesting, because if you exit out of this and go back to my highlights, I'm going to show you, I created a graphic that shows what actually happened. So if you go out of here and go to my highlights, yeah, just click on my page, yeah. And there's a graphics with circles. It shouldn't be too far.
Oh, yeah, we were passing that earlier.
Right there, right there. Okay. Click on that image. All right.
So this is the timeline.
Right. This specific indicator of a compromise, which is this diagnostics D. There, remember, everything is a string. Everything is a text. If you have this piece of text in there, you're infected. If you find this piece of text, and I'm going to show you another experiment that I did and that I wrote about to even further show that this is nonsense. February to June, she's infected. Then, in July of 2021, part of the month, she's infected with this and not infected with this.
What not with diagnostic?
Yeah, so diagnostic, imagine just a piece of a text, like a text that was found in the phone.
Oh, okay. I got you.
So they changed the results. So July 2021, she's infected and not infected. And then August, September, October, she's not infected. But then now in November, she's infected. And the reason I say this is because in these, Amnesty and Citizen Lab couldn't make up their minds. They wrote in the code repository, false positive. Then they write back and say, oh, we messed up. It's not a false positive. Come on, guys. Come on. But during this time that she was not infected, she was in European Parliament, and at this time, there was a motion of resolution passed against Rwanda. At this time, when she was not infected, it was passed, and this data was never released and never presented at all.
Okay. So I think we have the core of that specific example covered a lot. And we've already talked a little bit about the implications here. You talked about the MacArthur Foundation, the Ford Foundation funding things like it was Amnesty International in that case?
Yeah.
Okay. NSO being an Israeli organization. And obviously this is all pre-October 7th, 2023, all the stuff we're looking at. Yeah. So this is long before that. Is this anti-Israel, or is it again, top line thing? We don't like people being spied on, so anything that's creating that, we're going to go against.
Yeah, so this has a history that goes all the way back to 2012, and this is where the final case that I want to mention is the case of Morocco.
Okay.
Back in 2012, Amnesty and the Citizen Lab had it out for Morocco. And I say had it out in which they accused Morocco of espionage. I mean, there's just lists of art or blogs and documents that they posted stating Morocco is spying on human rights defenders. Morocco is violating human rights with with not even NSO, with Italian spyware, right? With all kinds of different spyware. And well, it turns out that one of the people that was alleged to be spied on is a man named Omar Radi. Well, Omar Radi is another man that's in prison for rape and he's in prison for rape and for some I can't remember what the other crime was, but you can find that. But and my document's the first one that comes up. But so he's in prison for these crimes, and Amnesty International and the Citizen Lab are saying this man is a target of a human rights abuse. You need to release him. Your allegations of rape are false. Your and people are like, wait a second, and the woman's like, what? This happened to me. Like, what is going on? And they're saying, like, he's a human rights defender. He's a journalist. Like he's being targeted by the Moroccan government. And so in my research, I found it unfathomable that an organization or an NGO like Amnesty could spend so much time targeting Morocco. And my results are very clear. I'm going to show you. So there's two white papers that I wrote on this, and specifically I have charts that show the percentage of the basis of all of this. The basis of all of these accusations come from one report by Amnesty International. This is the document that Karine sent me. It's all the same. It's one document. But if you look at this, inside of this, and I posted this graphic on my Twitter. But essentially, what I'm showing you is that it's all the people, Amnesty and Citizen Lab. They're all connected. They all worked on the same. They all worked on the same report. They validated it's circular validation. Now,
University of Toronto Monk School, Citizen Lab, Amnesty International. Basically, I'm looking at
and look at the board of directors for Amnesty International is also employed by the board. Yeah, is also employed by the Citizen Lab. I mean, it's a circular movement here, all validating themselves, and it's there's no way that we can be peer reviewed. Now, the next part within this report, now there's graphs, and it shows, you can flip the pages to the graphs till you find them. And if you go to my highlights, the graphs will show. So you're seeing it in the report.
I'm holding in a big question for you, but I don't want to ruin your flow with the case.
Yeah, no worries. So you scroll down, and let's go to the Omar Radi. You'll see it's called Pseudoscience is the title. It's a big red cover page. Right there. So click into it. Sorry. No, it's okay. Yeah, and scroll down. So this is the graphic that I was showing. If you want to click on that. Mm-hmm. Right. So this graphic shows that, all right, if Citizen Lab validated this forensics methodology report, let's look at actually who's working with who. And you can see the Citizen Lab and Amnesty International, Toronto School, like everyone it's just, again, the circular validation. Who is on the board of directors. And this is one of the professors of the Monk School. This is and all of this is outlined in this report. But let's go back, and so we go to the few of the graphics. Scroll down a little bit more. Right. So let's look at if we see here, 2021, Amnesty released forensic methodology report. This is the one I'm talking about. It says 52% of the forensics report focused on Morocco. 9 of 17 sections focused on Morocco. Scroll down to the next one. Right here, we say 100% of the Appendix B and C traces were from Morocco, even though the report briefly mentions France, India, Rwanda, UAE, Hungary. You can and
so you think it's targeted?
100%. So even in
100%.
my 100% targeted, I without a doubt, and I prove this, and someone tried to debunk me.
Who?
Runa Sandvik, the former IT director of the New York Times. And
have you ever had contact? Is that a man or?
She's a woman.
Okay.
She's a woman.
Have you ever had contact with her?
Lots of contact. We've spoken on the phone. We've done video.
Is it cordial?
No, we're professional. We're professional,
okay.
But sometimes. But the point is that this report, and I go into these are very detailed. I go through lines of code. The very technical reports that are targeting Morocco and have been targeting Morocco since 2012, in which one of the Citizen Labs researchers, who was another person accused of rape and removed from the Citizen Lab due to this rape misconduct, explicitly states false information, false attribution that the Moroccan government has been spying on XYZ human rights defenders with no proof to point, no methodology. Now, I want to show one piece. If we go back to my highlights, and this is kind of the piece that's I think can make a lot more sense. We go back to the highlights. One back. Scroll up. Scroll up. Right down. Right there. Okay. Now, what you're seeing here is a timeline that was presented in this document. Now, 2 sets of data for the exact same event and 2 different times to the exact second. So how did the murder happen at 2 different times? So people make the argument and say, you can see, look at the timestamps. They're 2 hours apart, but
you're a sick fuck.
You know what I'm saying? And so who's not?
You missed your calling, my guy.
Yeah, nobody.
I gotta call Jim DiOrio. He'd hire your ass.
Hey, we got 2 different timestamps. One didn't do it. We didn't do this.
that's no. He was a high level fed.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, you know what I'm saying? We didn't do this. Yeah. So which one do we pick, guys? You see what I'm saying? And they're presenting this. And so and Amnesty's saying, yep, here's the evidence. They're saying here's the evidence that that Morocco spied on this rapist. And Morocco's like, no. Wait, what?
Wouldn't me?
Wait, what? Are you kidding me? And so they send a letter to Amnesty International. One of the heads of the government said, show me your methodologies. We're a government organization. You're an NGO. You're accusing us. Present us this proof or we're going to sue you. They didn't respond. So Morocco sues these organizations. And as far as I know, there's still some litigations happening. But the issue here is which one do we choose, guys? When did this event happen? Are we just going to, what do we do? Because you see what I'm saying? This is not science.
What are the things that have been definitively traced back to NSO?
Nothing.
No, not from what we've looked at.
Not from what we looked at. Okay.
From other things that are labelable. Make up a word there. I think.
Sure.
Is that a real word?
Yes.
Labelable?
No. So
right, yeah. But what things are labelably? Bad.
Yeah.
Meaning did Xi Jinping pay them for Pegasus and take out a bunch of enemies?
There were instances. Yeah, there were instances when NSO Group conceded that their software was used illicitly. There were instances rare that I believe it was I think it was early or late 2010s. But there's documentation of them saying, yes, we've actually identified that one of our clients. They don't say who their client is. That's one of the things that they specifically,
it's confidential.
Right. So, but they do say that they identified one of their clients was misusing their software. Yes. Again, we don't have the information to know which client it was, but they said that they've handled the situation and they've revoked the licenses. Okay. So
how much of it is also, though, they have don't ask, don't tell on a lot of things?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But it's
a messy space.
It is a very messy space. Like so what's happening is that these organizations are saying, let's just remove all surveillance technology. Now, hold on. Because remember when we said, I showed you that Citizen Lab admits that they're doing illegal things. Well, they want to remove all surveillance technologies, but yet they worked with Palantir.
Yeah, I was just going. You took the words out of my mouth.
And they
that's Peter Thiel's joint.
Yep.
That works with the CIA.
Absolutely. So you're picking and choosing which spyware firm are you going to be working with, and which one's better for your agenda.
Does Palantir have anything like Pegasus?
No,
that we know of?
Not that we know of publicly, but they are considered a surveillance technology firm. Absolutely. And, this is, they've actually donated. They've donated to Citizen Lab. There's documentation of this. So what...
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So they're funding.
Yeah.
They're funding
absolutely.
the enemy.
Absolutely.
To take, oh my God.
Absolutely. And
ding,
this
ding.
is public. This is public. And even on their Twitters, they're like, hey, guess who? They say, guess who's coming over to the Citizen Lab house today? Palantir.
That is
the director of the Citizen Lab calls Palantir the darling of cybersecurity or something. But those are his words, like the darling of XYZ. And I'm just like, come on, guys, like, what is going on? And this is in one of his books.
Alessi, can you Google something real quick? I'm just thinking of this off the top of my head. Connection between NSO and Black Cube. 2 words, Black Cube. I want to see if there's something here. I've never looked at this, so we're going to find out. All right, let's click that first one. Israeli operatives, Black Cube, Israeli spy firm reportedly targeted researchers probing hacks of dissidents. Black Cube, which aided Harvey Weinstein, targeted 6 people connected to lawsuits against the Israeli hacking firm NSO Group, say new reports. Before I read any of this, Black Cube is arguably the greatest private intelligence company in the world as far as like handling smash and grab things on the ground. Sure. It's run by all former Shin Bet and Mossad geniuses from their days on that. So it says the controversial Tel Aviv-based intelligence company Black Cube dispatched a flock of covert operatives to probe researchers, lawyers, and a journalist researching the Israeli cyber weapons firm NSO Group, according to a report on Israel's Channel 12. Both companies have so far denied any role in the operation, which involved private spies attempting to goad people into making racist and anti-Israel remarks and reveal sensitive information provocations that one operative tried in a botched attempt in New York last month. Spies have targeted at least 6 people in North America and Europe who are connected to ongoing lawsuits against NSO Group, according to the separate report on Monday by the Associated Press. Channel 12's report, which aired on Saturday in Israel, included hidden camera footage of 2 of NSO's critics meeting the undercover operatives. The TV report criticized lawsuits against NSO, claiming a smear campaign against the company. Okay, I'll stop it there. So I asked that because Israel tends to be the best at a lot of these jobs.
Sure.
And so when companies that are tied to them are in this, they get a lot of ire. I think there's ways to see that both ways. On a separate note, obviously, there's a whole war going on right now. Yeah. I'm pretty grossed out by pretty much everything happening there. I would like to see that end. I think there's... Obviously, Hamas is very bad. I think the Israeli government has taken it way too far. It's kind of, some of it's horrible. But, it becomes this hot button issue because it's them. And so Black Cube,
yeah,
you see the label right there. They're like, oh, they helped Harvey Weinstein. Yes, that's one of many clients that they were hired to try to do something for. But, you know, it does seem like there's these weird espionage-related wars that go on. I know, like, when I talk with Andy Bustamante, usually, actually, we should talk about this on camera. We've always had this conversation off camera. But, like, my kind of, like, layman's outer little broad theory on the world is that not everything, but many things that happen in the world, be it war, be it political turmoil, be it disagreements on how things are handled with among communities and stuff, it's usually some sort of like casualty of an underground espionage disagreement, even between, you know, intel agencies that are labeled friends. None of them are friends. They all spy on each other, right? There's no friends in that type of community. There's only like fake friends. So, you know, I wonder sometimes about, and you laying out these cases, about these organizations that we've been dealing with today, which are all private organizations, some of the dark money and stuff like that could be coming from different agencies around the world who may in particularly have an issue with Mossad and some of their tactics on their soil, which could be totally fair. But then it's playing out where there's real world victims and lies that can happen too, which I guess, I mean, that's the world. So in some ways, cynically, I'm like, okay, well, that's how it goes. But is that fair to say, possibly?
Well, I mean, it's possible. I think that it's a possible scenario. But I think that, you know, if we look at this as, well, this is just how the world goes, I think we need to consider that the implications of continuing to present these cases without science that is verifiable, falsifiable, etc., is, again, it's damaging, because not only was this resolution passed against Rwanda, it was passed against Morocco, because this man, Omar Radi, was the center of focus in this European Parliament resolution against Morocco. They said, Morocco spied on this man, Omar Radi, and violated his human rights. We're going to pass a resolution against Morocco, and they did. But no one showed them the pick a date.
Right.
No one showed, and so, but that's what I'm saying is, it's possible what you're saying. There could be some, you know, underground or like strife that's happening, but ultimately who's being affected by this are the people. I want to say the people, like innocent people of these countries, because what happens after resolutions is sanctions. Even in the case of Kanimba, one of the Texas congressmen said,
Kagame?
No, one of the Texas congressmen in the Kanimba case, when she was testifying in U.S. House Intelligence.
Right.
Sorry, kind of flipped back.
Sorry.
It was Joaquin Castro. He's a
Texas guy,
congressman. Yeah. He said, you know, we might consider just now sanctions against Rwanda and you know, removing their funding and aid. And it's like, what the heck? Yeah. And she specifically states, we give them so much money. She said, and this is the part that I need to address as well. She says, and they used so much of it to spy on me. And allegedly, right? Yeah. Now, here's what is very important to know. Where the it could be a last talking point, honestly, but one thing that we've heard is that, and we know it could be true, it could not be true based on different events, but U.S. phone numbers, +1 phone numbers, cannot be targeted with Pegasus. Okay, so you don't know this? Yeah.
Nope.
Okay, so this is kind of an agreement that the Israeli government and the United States have, that +1 phone numbers cannot be targeted with Pegasus.
An agreement.
An agreement, but of course,
let me throw some big old quotes on that one.
Right, but then again, of course, the FBI was found to have Pegasus, so it's kind of like wait. So maybe there's different versions now, but this part is where it gets very tricky. So. This is back to Karine Kanimba's case. She's testifying in House Intel and saying, I was targeted with Pegasus. And one of the congressmen or women says, well, this is funny because we're told that, Americans, Americans cannot be targeted with Pegasus. Well, this is the conflation. Pegasus doesn't care what nationality you are. It's a software. So when she presented this espionage case, her Belgian phone number was the one that was presented to the House Intelligence Committee. And she even says it in the video, my American phone, my Belgian phone. And she said it in the video that we watched. She presented her Belgian phone and they conflated the issue saying an American was spied on. When does the software care what your nationality is?
But But if they knew who they were targeting, then it is an American. As an example, my buddy Nico, he's a Greek dual citizen. I don't think he has this anymore, but he used to have like a Greek number when he was over there. If he were getting targeted, if they decide we're going to target Nico Karolidis, who's been on this show,
right?
But they would know who he is, so then they're like, okay, what's his number? All right, +44, Oh, okay, Greek number. But they know he's an American. So it's just a semantic. Or am I looking at this wrong?
No, it's definitely semantic. But the software doesn't care what nationality. The software is agnostic. It doesn't, of your nationality. It cares about what country code are you entering in at first, right? So to make the case that an American was targeted is not, it doesn't follow the logic of the software. You see what I'm saying? It's the phone number. This is the phone number. But the Congress people conflated this issue and said, and in order to make a claim.
I understand.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which I think one part we didn't talk about was what was at the end of that bill. Remember we were talking about that earlier, the aerial phenomena. The underwater.
Oh shit!
Oh,
yeah,
the
what
underwater.
Did that say?
Okay, yeah. So we can.
Yeah.
So
we knew the tinfoil had to come out at some point.
I know. It was like, hold on, let's go back. Let's go back. This was cool. Sorry. Yeah, this was very strange. And
which report was this? Where did you find this?
Yeah. So this is actually the very beginning of my Spyware Karine Kanimba Rwanda case. And it's actually the second paragraph. It says, so Kanimba was invited to give testimony in a hearing before the U.S. House Intelligence Committee to serve as support for House Bill H.R. 8367. The purpose of this House bill is as follows: to authorize appropriations for fiscal year 2023.
Easy. Keep going,
etc. And so for a total amount, total amount of 1.18 billion.
Now, what'd they toss in there in the footnotes?
Yeah. So this is me in the footnotes.
No. I mean, what did they toss in there?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So,
of course you have footnotes,
right? Of course. So they're saying, we're going to use part of this money to develop open source intelligence tools that monitor China and Russia, and then they say, the bill includes a section of other matters which calls for the documentation and disclosure of all unidentified aerospace undersea phenomena since 1950s. They just
slide that little bad boy underneath there. Like, oh yeah, we got this.
And
look at this girl who was spied on.
And
it's so innocent. It's so innocent. By the way, underwater technology for aliens. You just toss that one in there, will you? Thanks, Ted Cruz. Appreciate you.
Yeah, exactly. So this is like page 597 through like 623 out of like 1097, and it's like it's crazy because it's super detailed. Like if you actually go to the link, it's like, wait, that's a lot of detail that you want. Like, wait, and you just snuck that into this bill.
Have you ever seen the?
That's wild.
I'm just remembering a recent one I saw. It's not that recent, but there's one image popping into my head, and I know a bunch of other senators and congressmen from both parties have done tweets like this over time. But I remember one maybe last year of Rand Paul, where he took a picture and he had a stack. It was a bill, right? And he said, this was just put on my desk 20 minutes ago. It has a vote in 2 hours.
Wow. Yeah.
If you think I'm reading this, but I'm expected to go vote on it. This happens all the time.
That's crazy.
Right? And so I always wonder what it would be like to be a fly on the wall in all those congressional staffers' rooms when they're sitting there with stale pizza on a Saturday night.
Stuff, guys?
Just like, oh yeah, let's get the alien part in there. Footnote number 547. like what the fuck?
Yeah,
and who taps on their shoulder? Is it Bustamante going in there? Like, listen, man, you're gonna put that alien thing in there. You understand me? The Oreos holding the gun to their head.
Yeah.
Brains of the signature.
Yeah. And I'm like, why did I read that entire bill? That's what I asked myself. I mean, I was like,
you read that?
Yeah, I'm like, come on. And people were waiting for my report. I had so many people. They're like,
the only one.
I know. And people were like, Jonathan, where's the report? I was like, I got to finish reading this bill. And then I'm like, but this is really crazy. This is really crazy. So, but yeah, if you look at the report and you go to the footnote, and then you go to the actual, it's like they want to know everything about this unidentified aerospace undersea phenomenon. They go into details like this funding is going to go for this specific UAPs underwater that have been captured. Even they say oh yeah, you should go to the bill if you're interested. It's like we know that there have been. It says essentially we know that there have been captured unidentified phenomena, and we want to know all about those captured. But whoa!
Remind me to send this bill to Jesse Michaels before we get in here. I want him to
super wild. Just sneak it in there.
That's nuts, man.
Yeah.
What makes you do all this? I mean, I'm blown away. You were. People didn't see today, but there were. I don't know what, Alessi, 3 different times where we had to stop for it was at least 20 minutes each time where you are anally going through and making sure literally the line of the source is correct, which I appreciate a ton.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, you can easily believe you. But what makes you do all this stuff and put these reports together that are so dense and incredible? I wish you were a fucking senator or something. We'd actually get something done in this country.
That I didn't want to stand for this anymore, right?
Apparently.
And I know it's and this is not. I mean, there's even more. These are the core ones. There's smaller ones, maybe 10, 12 pages, right? But these are that's what happened with my lawsuit. One of the things that really sparked all of this was this forensics expert was looking through a laptop that my business partner had stolen and said, well, can't find anything, can't find your code, can't find anything. And he presented that to the courts. And then I made a counter argument saying, what this guy, what he presented is false. I even cited everything. And the court system was like, yeah, whatever, that doesn't matter. This guy's right. And I'm thinking, this happens to so many people, right? These false forensics report happens to so many. And so when I saw and I was involved in these cases, even speaking with Amnesty International themselves, and they asked me for help. Mm-hmm. And when they asked me for help, I realized, wow, they don't know what they're doing. And this is something that is very troubling because it's affecting people's lives. There was a case, I believe, somewhere in the Netherlands in which several people were falsely imprisoned due to false evidence of forensics evidence for pinging on cell phone towers. It said that they were at this crime scene when they weren't. And then finally, the forensics evidence was reviewed, and they were like, "Oh, you guys can go free with." But they lost so much time. This is not right. This issue needs to be raised. Scientists around the world need to step up. And yes, it's going to be tough because battling these people, it can ruin your life. I was dismissed from my PhD program for writing my first report.
So you're in a different one now?
Yeah.
That's a different one.
It's a different one, the one I showed you. I was removed from my PhD program because this former IT director of New York Times contacted my school, my university, wrote a letter to them along with another individual, and stated that I was conducting human experiments without permission, and I was not listening to peers. It's a very strange thing. I wrote an entire blog about it and showed like how all of this transpired, to the extent that the university said, okay, we reviewed everything, and we don't find you, in violation of anything. You can continue your dissertation, your PhD dissertation. That wasn't satisfying to this group of people. And so they persisted and messaged the university again, to the extent that the final, the straw, or what actually had me dismissed was I got an email from the IRB, the review board director for the school, saying a tweet that I had sent to a PhD computer scientist was in violation of their code of conduct, and therefore I'm going to be removed. And I said, wait, what? Like, why is this tweet in violation? I wasn't cursing. I wasn't like being vulgar. I said to the effect, bro, if I was your student, I would not. I would see past the smoke and mirrors in which you're putting up, because this man's a PhD computer scientist from Stanford, something like that, just attacking me for publishing one of these reports. And it was not hostile to him. Again, never cursed at him, nothing. And I begged the university, please tell me why this tweet is in violation of any code of conduct. And they would not respond. And I posted all my communications with them in a blog post. And ultimately, they removed me from the university. And international media wrote about this.
What year was this again?
This was 2022. But the same year, I got into another program, and this year is when I graduate with my doctorate at the end of this year. But it's been a rough ride going.
Okay.
Publishing this is
when have you published all these in 2023?
2022, 2023, and then I have several coming out this year. I was
going to say, that was my next question.
Yeah, they take a long time. And again, I actually co-authored this one with a PhD computer scientist from Spain.
This one's called Catalan Gate.
Yeah.
Catalan Gate Vectors, an analysis of WhatsApp's impact on citizen privacy and Amnesty International. Oh, after you're done this point, we're going to talk about WhatsApp. But
so this is very important. So this one is
go right to it.
Sure, let's go right into it. So this one that I co-authored with Dr. Gregorio Martin from Spanish, computer scientist, professor, and what we discovered was insane. Like the idea that people were infected with by way of WhatsApp is not unplausible, right? WhatsApp is known to have vulnerabilities in which you can exploit, but WhatsApp notified all of these victims that they were infected with Pegasus. I mean, guess who was right beside WhatsApp? The Citizen Lab. And so they joined up together and said, oh, I'll call them. I'll call these guys. But no one ever thought to ask, wait a second, WhatsApp is an end-to-end encrypted application. How did you monitor my messages and then now you're telling me I'm infected?
Right.
It's the same with Apple.
Right.
How are you monitoring my encrypted messaging and telling me? So one of the things that I found was, okay, if you're saying that these infections are true, let's do another experiment. And this one was probably like one of the most damning, because if you turn Wi-Fi on your phone or you turn it off, you get different infection results. These are use cases. These are test cases. These are things that you set out. If you're a real scientist and you're trying to think of every possibility that you can not ever think about everything, right? There's always, nuances to things. But one thing about mobile forensics is the output of the data is an exact science. The methodology is not. The output of the data is an exact science, which means what you have, the methodology you've executed will give you the exact result that based off of the methodology that you've executed.
Okay.
That is an exact science. The data output. Now, if you turn Wi-Fi on when you're checking your device for Pegasus, you get one result. Turn it off, you get another. And nobody thought to think of that. And what we also found is that we could forge. We could just
Right. So again, you're
injecting everything. And we spent a lot of time reanalyzing and discussing and trying to think, like, are we wrong? Like, are we wrong to be thinking this way? But we're not. We're not wrong to be presenting the possibility of an error, right? We are looking for the truth. We want to, if we had the methodology that we could corroborate, that would be amazing. If this would be released, but it's being, again, presented without this evidence. So the WhatsApp lawsuit. There's a WhatsApp lawsuit, which is Meta, and there's an Apple lawsuit against NSO Group, both going on at the same time. And what's being presented?
Wait. Apple's suing NSO.
Apple's suing NSO. Meta's suing NSO.
Okay, right.
Yeah, and so they're in a like a legal mess, right? But again, who are the people that are actually? Look, the court systems are not going to understand any of this.
Right.
How do you present this evidence in a way that can...
That's the hard part.
Yeah, and that's the toughest part about the legal system is they don't understand any of this. They're rather, in my opinion, they'd probably rather believe Meta or Apple to say that this is what happened, and they're not going to go into technical detail. Their forensic scientists are the Citizen Lab and Amnesty. Now, the head researcher of the Citizen Lab, he did his thesis on I think his master's or on housing development.
Reliable.
Super reliable. And I'm just like, that's great.
Yeah.
Spyware researcher. And yeah, you're testifying. Go testify.
Yeah, you're good.
No,
bro.
just go do that.
That's all you, baby.
Yeah, he guilty.
Well, you raise a good point, and that's where the lawyers in spaces like this, complicated spaces, who are the best. I'm talking the top, usually like New York or Palo Alto, LA type lawyers. They get paid, $10,000 an hour, whatever it is, because they can go in and mix things up and simplify things towards their sides of the case that then complicates it for the jury and makes them trustworthy. You know what I mean? Like it's like mixing up a salad and saying, you're going to like this, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And it's hard for a judge, smart as they may be and well-read as they may be in cases like this, to be able to catch all that and follow all that. You know, like these judges, they're working all different types of cases. Some of the shit you're showing us today that people are going to look at on the screen, where it's like code lines. I mean, that might as well be fucking Chinese to me.
For sure.
I have no idea what that means. So it's a fair point that you have a problem, and you also have the issue that NSO is not an American organization. Yeah. Right? So you're talking about what? You're talking about Meta. You're talking about Apple. These are American organizations. They're more in tune with the laws here.
Yeah.
And they're more powerful here.
And this is what you bring up a good point. Like
unless NSO is spying on all the judges, in which case, Meta's fucked.
Yeah, you guys are done. We know exactly. All right. Yeah, exactly. So you bring up a good point, right? They're an Israeli company. What's funny is in this Rwandan case, in Rusesabagina's daughter, she sued the Rwandan government and Paul Kagame for $400 million. It's no joke. She sued for $400 million for kidnapping her father. It was dismissed.
In what court?
It was in D.C.
So she did in the U.S.
Yeah, she didn't. So this same
400 million seems a little excessive.
It's too much. And they were like, yeah, actually, you know what? We have a rule that you can't actually like sue like a president of another country. Like,
really?
Yeah. So that's what they came back with. It was a federal district court judge that was like, yeah, you can't do this. Like, why would you waste your money and time? And that law firm, Cohen Mills law firm, also lost a lawsuit for suing Donald Trump for stuff. They have this record of like random lawsuits that like
there's a lot of places like that, man.
Yeah, but they like give me big money.
Right?
Like,
yeah, they get what you get one of those. You get one to stick. Oh baby.
And they're like, I bet you we can get that 400 million. Who's gonna give you 400 million? What's the GDP of Rwanda? Tell me.
I'm gonna guess it's not that high.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, what do you think that you're gonna do? And that was just wild to me. And in the lawsuit, she says, not only was I spied on, my father was spied on too, with Pegasus. And she's like, I just threw up my hands at that point. I'm like, come on.
We don't even.
She like
he was in prison. He was in
how was he spied on with Pegasus in prison? And it's just their most random stuff, man. But you just put whatever you want in the complaint. It doesn't matter. It's the complaint.
This report though that you did on, this was the one you co-authored?
Yeah, co-authored.
On WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So you're looking at it from the communique vis-a-vis Pegasus and everything.
Yeah.
But everyone always talks about WhatsApp with its complete privacy violations and issues.
Oh man.
Whereas like that's why people want to use Signal and stuff, which the running joke is if you want to get a direct line to the NSA, use Signal, right? Which I don't know. I mean, maybe that's true, maybe it's not.
Yeah.
But what is it? What's the problem with WhatsApp's infrastructure? Like what are the issues there?
I think the biggest issue is in this case there was like the WhatsApp. I think what we talked about that was mentioned in a video that we were watching that said there's this list of 50,000 people that were targeted with Pegasus, and it came from this French organization. Well, there's another tiny list of like 1,200 people that were spied on with Pegasus via WhatsApp. Where did that come from?
Right.
No one knows. No one knows. But for some reason, somehow, Meta and the Citizen Lab are the only ones that know in the world, and they're the only ones that contacted all of these people to let them know that they were spied on. And again, end-to-end encryption, super safe, but we're going to contact you when you're spied on. Sorry.
Good luck.
That's weird that, like, why are you spying on me and telling me that I'm spied on? Same with Apple. Why are you spying on me and telling me I'm spied on? It doesn't make any sense, right? All of this is and people are going to argue, well, there's other things that they can monitor that, what are you monitoring in an end-to-end encryption? Because these people are set. Now, this is the point. These people that were infected with WhatsApp were delivered a link that they had to click on. If you're end-to-end encrypted, how is WhatsApp alerting you that the link that you just received is Pegasus? Why are they looking at the links inside of your messages? No, it's end-to-end encrypted. So what kind of backdoor do they have? One of the things that I exploited when I first started when I first sold software to Blanco Technology Group, and one of the things that I noticed, and I did a cybersecurity conference on this, was specific SIM cards enable backdoors into your cell phone. And I showed this live in this cybersecurity conference. So I put in a Verizon SIM card into a Samsung phone. And I showed that when you change the SIM card, it opens up more access. And the Verizon always has the most access than AT&T or Sprint or T-Mobile or even other foreign SIM cards. And once I popped in that Verizon SIM card, I was able to gain this, the coveted access, the Android coveted access we were talking about earlier. I was able to gain that, all because I switched the SIM card. And because a SIM card has code on it, right? It has an operating system, and people may not know it, but it has it runs off of Java, and there's code in it, and that code directly communicates with the operating system. And it opens up these back doors. there's so much involved with this, right? Because the carriers are collecting so much data on us. And if we actually look at what kind of information they're collecting, I don't think that people would be agreeing to it all, except we are forced to agree to it in our policies, the user policies. Think about this. When you get a new iPhone, you are forced to agree to the policies in order to set up your phone.
That's right.
If you don't, even if
every time you get an iOS update too,
and there's no cancel button.
Right.
There's no like, no, I don't agree. It's just agree.
No one's ever read it either.
Yeah,
you've probably read it.
Yeah, I've read it. I've read it. I've read it, and I've written about it.
Yeah.
And what I found, and one of the things that is very, I'm able to extract over 10,000 data points from your iPhone. Over 10,000. That's a lot. And I'm sure even with newer operating systems and newer hardware, there's a lot more. But there's so much data that's going out, and it's amazing the compression that they have. His engineering is amazing. But we are agreeing to the policies that are essentially collecting all of this data on us, and
that's right.
And we are doing this to ourselves, and we're not recognizing that these companies like Google and Apple are collecting all this because maybe we don't care. Right. But one thing that people may not know is that if you've ever been to takeout.google.com,
nope,
that is a cool way to actually see how much information Google is collecting on you.
Takeout.google.com?
Yeah, takeout.google.com. And when you go there, you're going to have options that are going to prompt you, hey, do you want to download 60 gigabytes of the data that we collect on you? Or do you want to download like 2 gigabytes? Oh, it gets deep. To the extent that if you have a Nest camera system, it'll send you the screenshots from your Nest camera system that it's collected on you. Oh yeah. And sometimes if you opt for all 60 or 80 gigs, it says it's going to take us 72 hours to give you all 60 or 80 gigabytes of your data that we've collected on you.
Do we have this, Alessi?
I'm trying right now. I'm looking. So this is what I looked up, and then I put it in the search engine.
Takeout. Take out one word. Yeah. The first should be the first link.
I put that whole thing in here .com, and nothing came up.
It should be the first link after you should get out.
That?
No.
Allow or block
go back.
Google
Go
takeout?
back.
Is it that?
No. Go back. Okay. It should be the first. What does it say? Takeout. Does it say take? Yeah.
Sign in.
Yeah. Sign in.
Accounts.
Yeah. The very top. Yeah.
Yeah. Click that.
Okay. So you're gonna see options here. Oops. You can close all that out. It's fine.
So I want to make sure my stuff's not getting shit.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It should. Yeah. It should be. It should be private, and it'll take.
Do a guest.
Okay.
That way.
Yeah. So, and then Apple has the same thing, which so if you go to privacy.apple.com, you can request your data, and then that they say,
but they're the privacy company. They
right.
love you. They love your privacy.
Yeah. So they'll
great ads.
They say we can only export like 16 gigs because we're not going to give you the rest. It's weird.
Right. They're like the
Super
dwarf among
weird.
midgets with it. Like, they're like, we're the best. Well, you might be.
Yeah.
You still suck.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You still suck.
Absolutely.
You can reach the second counter there, but
Exactly.
What do we got, Aless?
So I skipped that. So essentially, is it just showing me that I can get all this information?
Oh yeah, and it should tell you like so if you see like
file size 2
gigs, like zip file or
what's a TGZ file?
It's like a compressed file.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you go to the gigabytes, like go down. Yeah,
it can go up to what, 50?
There you go. Yeah, 50. Sorry, yeah. 50.
What if I got more than 50?
Oh yeah. Right?
You definitely.
Oh,
you did 50 in a day.
I got it took them like 72 hours to dump my last one. I generally do it like once a month.
Hours.
Yeah,
you do it once a month?
Yeah. I want to know what they're doing, And
I bet you do.
Dude, it's so much information. It's like you'd be surprised like, "Oh, I didn't know I went there." Or, "Oh, wait. Yeah, I did go there.
What about like VPNs and stuff though? Does it pick up everything you still do?
It picks up everything.
Yeah.
It even gives you your map of everywhere you've been.
Well, the VPNs aren't a waste for other things, but like Google having it internally. They're gonna if you go through their platform, you get it. That's why like if you want to do something, you got to do it through Safari, DuckDuckGo on a VPN.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, even with Apple is so weird. I was like, how did you get that account? Like I haven't seen that account since like 2007. And it's like, yeah, all these accounts are associated to your iCloud account. And I was like, I haven't seen that email address since like 2007. Like what? And you're looking at it like, wow, you're not even giving me everything.
I don't know when this is going to happen, but I think we're rapidly approaching the point, and this actually might be an okay thing in the midst of all this shit, where everyone knows there's so much data on them that can be taken out of context of like, I mean, think about the people I've had in this podcast studio.
Yeah.
That's when I turn, like when people leave here, that's when I turn on my VPN and go to DuckDuckGo, which hopefully they can't see that, but they probably still can. And type in some dark shit based on what people say, right?
Yeah.
And it sends you down rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And like if you took any of those out of context, it'd be like, oh my God, on May 8th, 2023, he searched for
liquefy
this.
a body.
I mean, it could be, right?
Yeah.
It could go crazy. And so I wonder if we're going to be at a point where no one cares anymore. People are like, we all look at crazy shit. We all look at stuff that is like socially unacceptable because on the phone, we can be whatever we want.
Yeah. No, you make a really good point. Like what's the end goal of all this data? Yeah, you're selling it. But who's creating who's creating the actual profile of me?
That's right.
Right? Like, and yeah, are you targeting me with ads? Maybe. Am I buying into it? Of course I bought that hat. Of course I bought, like, you keep feeding me that same thing over and over. I think that one of the statistics was if you show the same ad like 22 times, I mean, you're something along those lines that you're, more likely to, and it's like, oh yeah.
It's true, man.
Yeah. And we were just talking about this earlier. Like, so there's a site that we looked at that, you can actually opt out of all of these data collections, companies. It's in your browser. Like with just deleting your cookies is not enough.
Right.
They're still tracking you, and you have to opt out. So there's a site that we looked at, and it's a real thing, and a lot of the malware, a lot of the viruses, call them viruses, mainly malware these days, right? Is sent through adware, right? So all these pop-ups that come up on your PC, or not so much on Macs, right? But PCs are notorious for pop-up windows. And one of the best things that I could say is get an ad blocker. AdGuard is one of the best ad blockers because it's going to, it'll prevent all of these ads from just taking over your bandwidth, injecting, malicious,
that's the
files.
Yeah.
VPNs are fine for, say you're at a Starbucks, someone's sniffing you, you don't want, but AdGuard is one of the best things that I can recommend. Like, just this is how malware is sent on, PCs. Androids even, unfortunately, have this issue, like pop-ups on the Android. Right. Here's your ransomware. Even I've seen it on Androids as well. It's a whole
can of worms there.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, dude, we just had a way longer day than expected too, because there was a ton of details here. You did a great job. This really got going.
Hey, this is great. Thanks for of course, the platform, the opportunity, man. This is
shout out to your cousin Joe for putting this together, by the way.
Joseph, Joe Cat, thank you.
But yeah, so people can get you on your Twitter. You also have a YouTube channel. I'll link that in the description below.
Yeah.
But there's a ton of questions I have, like in general, about hacking stuff that we didn't get to. So we'll have to do that at some point in the future. But I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, man.
It's good stuff.
Good. Good
All
stuff.
right.
Thanks.
Everybody else, you know what it is. Give it a thought. Get back. Thank you guys for watching the episode. Before you leave, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and smash that like button on the video. It's a huge help. And also, if you're over on Instagram, be sure to follow the show at Julian Dorey Podcast, or also on my personal page at Julian D. Dorey. Both links are in the description below. Finally, if you'd like to catch up on our latest episodes, use the Julian Dorey Podcast playlist link in the description below. Thank you.